Are we good to go, ma'am? Are we good to go?
There seem to be only 47 here. So, if Amit sir is there, just Amit sir, can you guide us whether we should start or wait another 2-3 minutes?
Ma'am, I would suggest we should start with the introduction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ma'am, I think we will
Because
start
panelists-
and participants will join eventually because everyone, the resource persons are here. I think we can start.
Okay, fine. Let's go ahead.
So, Mamta ma'am, over to you and we can begin.
Yeah. Good evening, one and all. Myself, Dr. Mamta Rane, would like to start with a short note that sports do not build character, it reveals it. I feel highly privileged in introducing our panelists for today's discussion for the topic Physical Education, Pedagogy Shift Required. Firstly, I would like to welcome our moderator, who is a young and dynamic person, Mr. Ashish Kumar Rawat, Ambassador IPLA Delhi, who is there with us since day one, giving his valuable insights. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Then I would like to introduce our first panelist, Miss Bini Ghosh, a charming, young, and enthusiastic basketball coach at Heritage School. She is a passionate educator who works well with children and aims to help every student to create interest and passion for physical activity. Her motto is "No child left behind." That is such a marvelous thought, ma'am. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our second panelist is a dashing and passionate, as sweet as his name, Dr. Hani Bhatia. Sir has been a physical and health educator for over a decade. Currently holding a position of Head of Department Physical Education at New Academy, Bangalore. He has trained physical education students in both India and abroad. Sir's prime focus is to bring holistic development in students through physical literacy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our third panelist is a super dynamic national level gymnast, Mrs. Neelam Babar Desai. Her love for gymnastics started at a young age of 8. After her 12 years of experience in IT, she decided to pursue a full-time career in sports as a head of physical education program with Sports Gurukul. She joined her dream job 2 years ago, which was with Tata Trust as a head of sports design. This trust implements on 3-tier design that includes grassroots, competitive training, and excellence program. We are happy to have you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our fourth panelist is a personality who believes in creating a challenging and engaging physical activity environment. She is none other than talented Miss Beulah, Assistant Director, Physical Education and Sports, Symbiosis International University, Pune. And also to join us, we have multi-talented CEO of Maverick Fitness Studio Limited, holistic lifestyle coach, Ms. Geeta Krishnaraj, who is on the very first day of our conference filled us with energy and zeal with her activity. And क्यों ना हो, वो खुद एक क्लासिकल डांसर, एक्टर, राइटर, डायरेक्टर हो, जो हमेशा स्फूर्ति और जोश की एक मिसाल बनी रही है. We welcome Geeta ma'am, and over to you, Ashish sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mamta ma'am, for that elaborative and wonderful choice of words for all the panelists and for me. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was wonderful to be introduced like that. Right. Moving forward, the first thing that I would like to quote with is we are talking about the pedagogy and we are talking about the shifts required. So this pedagogy that we understand is might be a way of teaching. Different people have different approaches while they teach. So what are the right pedagogical changes that we require at these times, especially with the connect to physical education and physical literacy? So that's what we will be talking today, and we have a wide range of panelists that will be showering out their thoughts on of how they have seen pedagogy changing, what have their been experiences. So without speaking much, let's hear it from the lion's mouth straight. Talking it first, I would like to go to Binny Ghosh. The introduction has been given, and she is young, charming, and talented as if. Now we would like to ask and understand it from you, Binny. How do you see pedagogy, and then what were your previous experiences with pedagogical things at your level whenever you were teaching?
So, to be very honest, my understanding of pedagogy started with college. So when we were in college, that's when we got to know about pedagogies and how things work and everything. But majorly, it was around the command methods and how the things had to be divided in whole, part, whole method and the part, whole methods and everything. And then in 2016, I joined the first school, and even there, it was majorly around that only. So it was majorly initiated by the teachers for the students. So implementing our thoughts on the students through and through. But then fortunately, I got into heritage, and that's where I actually saw a major shift of pedagogical application throughout. So that was the first school where I actually saw a curriculum in place that was based on NASP. It was from Shape America. And there were certain models that were being used like TGFU and all. And along with that, yes, command method was even there till then. Reciprocal method, inclusion, there were peer coachings and everything that was going on alongside. But it was majorly the reproduction model that I saw throughout in these few years till we shifted further. Yes.
Right. Pausing you right there and try to understand it that this majorly pedagogical changes that Binny is talking about is majorly into CBSE and IB school. So she works into a school where both the approaches being taken on. And her experiences with the normal schooling experiences that we had, moving from like an unknown thing to a known thing and understanding the concept better was the complete understanding. Here I would like to direct myself to Hani Bhatia, who is working as the coordinator with one of the IB schools. Hani, what do you think that, how was your experience and what was the impact goals that you were talking about related to your pedagogy at MYPEP PhD?
Thank you, Ashish. So basically, I've been teaching to multiple IB school, in my 12 year of experience, where I found that the IB curriculum really gives us the lot of scope where we can include the physical literacy components. So I would like to first share my goal statement, which I have created for my department, for the PhD department. And that is, Ashish, would you mind sharing this screen?
Right. Amit, can you facilitate it, please?
So like the people can see, look into the goal statement which we have created for our department.
Right.
So the first slide, Ashish, if you see, Amit sir, could you please just go up the first slide, the introductory, yeah. So I have mentioned the word approaching physical literacy in IB MYU PhD curriculum. I feel that though we have included a lot of components of physical literacy, but still I feel that we are still moving forward. We are moving ahead, approaching towards the physical literacy. Next slide, please. So here what I just want to bring your attention. Learners will understand the value of physical activity and participate effectively in a variety of contexts to achieve and maintain a healthy lifestyle. Learner will also be able to apply physical and health related knowledge in real life situations. So the department's prime goal is to create a physical literacy environment where every learner will focus on participation, physical activity for life rather than just competing in sports competition. So here I have chosen one picture. If you see, it's participate. So when kids participate in variety of activity, they join in, they learn, they create, they explore, and they share their knowledge with the mass media. So this is what our impact statement. And we really look forward to work in this direction.
Thank you, Ani. Going on next, for our spectators, for our participants, just to let you know that we have different boards running in our in our country. One of them is CBSE, which is Central Board of Secondary Education. The other one is IBDP, which is International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, and then we have CIA, Cambridge International Examinations, and ICAC. So there are different boards which come into place. Different boards have their different patterns and different yardstick to say of how this curriculum will work and look like, feel like. So that's how these different people. So when we talked from Binny's point of view, she was majorly into a CBSE school plus an IB school. And when we talked about from Honey's part, it was focusing on how the curriculum is adapted or the pedagogy is adapted in IB schools. So going forward and broadening our base, I would like to go to Neelam and consider when she's working with the gymnastic academies and Tata Trust and everything, how was your previously based experiences that you have used of using PL into the systems?
Yeah, so initially I would say a little bit about what I've worked on. So I always felt that with respect to pedagogy, when we're teaching physical literacy or physical education as it was known earlier, it was more teacher-centric, right? So the shift actually was required from a teacher-centric method of teaching to a child-centric method of teaching. And that I was introduced to some of the tips and techniques as even others were talking about, where it's more focused upon individual goals. It is more focused upon inclusion, ensuring that it is focused on outcomes, learning outcomes rather than what activities you're taking. So considering all of those, we are trying to apply now in government schools, because that's what our work has been, which is a little different than IB and CBSE, which is a bit more structured. The major difference being that here we are having school teachers who would be implementing physical literacy as opposed to physical educators, which are available in these schools. So we have to make it a little bit more generic, more simple, something which will also help the teachers engage the children in a much better way, especially in an active setting, because they are not used to handling children moving around and doing physical activity while learning. So that's a shift of thought, and we have to figure out, we have to give them or empower them with tips in which they can control these children better and help them learn not just fundamental movements of physical activity, but also a lot of educational concepts can be reviewed and taught in a much more fun way through something called as a blended learning, which we are trying to implement in these schools.
Right, Neelam, thank you so much. And I kindly request you to keep few words that you have stated, saying as learning outcomes, inclusiveness, and the success criteria that you talked about. So we keep that into a bank for a while, and then we'll come back and discuss about it. In the meanwhile, I'll jump on to on Beulah and understand that how the pedagogical practices looks like in higher education. Like, we have all been through it, and we know how it looks, but listening it from you and your experiences will be worthwhile.
Right. Definitely, I think, Ashish, when you say that we've been there and we've been through it, I don't know how much you've been. Maybe you are a sports person and you were engaged in physical activity, but that's not true for the majority. As everybody knows, there is no, you have a physical director in colleges, at universities, and is just a single or two positions, and you have thousands of students there. So unlike school, you have a setup wherein you have so many students around, but you just have one person. And what do you do there? How do you teach them? Okay, so that is the biggest question that arises in a college kind of a setup or a university kind of a setup. So recently, I have to tell you the trends that I'm sure this realization has struck, the higher ups, and universities have started realizing that, students are inactive in colleges. And hence, there is a curriculum that is coming. Many universities are adopting it, and they are going in with credit courses, which make it, mandatory for students to attend and complete these credit courses. But again, the delivery of such courses is questionable. How do you deliver with just one physical education director? So it's really very, very shady. And hence, at Symbiosis, let me tell you, my experiences have been really very different and unique. Along with credit courses, for undergraduates, we are coming up with a 1 credit mandatory course for all the undergraduates across campuses in India. And also, we have floated sports and fitness kind of courses, wherein we would be teaching them, equipping them with all the skills that they would be needing to stay active for their whole life. So that's what the main objective of these courses are, and that's what we are targeting. So we are, trying to, skill them up if they are not already, and trying to get them on the fields. You have beautiful playgrounds and, lots of indoor arenas, but you hardly see college students coming and utilizing. You'll see the grounds empty, just a handful who are coming in and playing. So we, so the best technique, I think, what we resorted to in our pedagogical practices, to deal with something like this, is we try to provide a lot of opportunities for all the students, all the stakeholders, I must say, whether it is the student community, whether it is the staff, the teaching, the non-teaching, with whom we work extensively, because we believe that there is a domino effect, and it will go on to the community at large. Okay. And let me just go on record to say that, we have seen a lot of success with these kind of initiatives been taken. And before, I would like to give a glimpse of the kind of, opportunities and services we provide to the university students. And I think I would request Amit to just share the video, so you can have a glimpse here of how exactly we do programs for everybody at the university.
Exactly, Beulah and Amit. In the meanwhile, I'll request all the participants to keep their cameras off and on a mute mode. And if you have any questions, you can put that into the chat box, so it goes wise enough. Kindly request to put their cameras off, and if you have any questions, put that into the chat box. Thank you. Amit, you can go ahead, please.
तुझने भी तो है जगह लगता हमको मगर कुछ कर देंगे हम मगर आपने जो दिखा था छिपा बस जाएगा वो नजर बादल पे पाँव है या छूटा गाँव है अब तो चल पड़ी अपनी ये गाँव है बादल पे पाँव है या छूटा गाँव है अब तो चल पड़ी अपनी ये गाँव है
Thank you, Beulah. That or some kind of workout that I wanted to do right now. So thank you so much for presenting that. I once again request all the participants to keep their cameras off, put them on themselves onto a mute mode, and please, while the presentation is on, not to present their own screens. This is my humble request to everybody. So the session goes on very lightly. Now, jumping on to from the adrenaline rush, I would like to go to the aesthetic part to Geeta from Maverick and understand of how she has seen the need of bringing Maverick into the system and how it approaches Maverick program approaches to the society.
Hi Ashish, thanks so much. I'd like to take a few seconds to actually explain why we even got into the physical literacy space. Maverick was launched in 2003 as a fitness group, and we have centers all over India for corporate giants like Cognizant, Tata's, and Hexaware and all that. And in 2013, when we were celebrating our 10th anniversary, my husband Krisha, who is the managing director of Maverick, both of us were having a conversation, and he said, we've been working so hard on the adult population. I think it's time we start working on the children and instill that sense of sacredness for the body right in young age. So Maverick Fit Kids was born with the aim to make children find the sanctity and sacredness of their body as the embodiment of life. So our very definition on the first day was, how can we ensure that children have the desire to keep moving, find the value of how the body can be and be recognized as the embodiment of life, because everything about life comes from the body. Now, with that in mind, when I started exploring how we can go about developing, I am someone who has a little bit of craziness because I do a lot of things, and I think they have all helped me because I like this, what Albert Einstein would say as a combinatory play, that you're not demarking things into specific segments, you allow them to flow into each other. So I'm a dancer, I'm an actor, I'm a videographer, but you cannot demark it and say this is where you are. There are areas which flow seamlessly into each other. So in that spirit, when I wanted to develop the curriculum of Maverick Fit Kids, physical literacy was the term that came closest to what I was trying to express. So it was in that spirit that I adopted the term physical literacy. And the entire curriculum was devised in a very beautiful way of this interconnectedness, which today I know is a philosophy of education, because my daughter is doing a PhD in education from the University of Sydney, and she said, Mom, what you've been doing is actually a theory of education. So the theory of education goes that we normally want to give children multiple activities, multiple exposure. And many a country has already adopted that, where they want to give a wide range of activities. So you say you can do swimming also, tennis also, this sport also, dance also, yoga also, and we give a lot of variety, multiple exposure. But all that is still segmented because it has a boundary, it has a framework into which it fits in. So like you go to a Bharatanatyam teacher, he will tell you this is how it has to be done. Your Natyarambam has to be like this, your neck has to be like this. There is already a structure. And today the theory says that rather than a segmented approach, why not a cumulative approach, where you understand the science behind all of these, but you're able to involve it into a free flow, where it moves seamlessly between each pattern rather than being rigid into separate boxes. That if I'm dancing, I'm dancing. If I'm doing this, it is this. Instead of that, why not a cumulative? So the entire Maverick Fit Kids curriculum has been devised as a cumulative experience for the child. In terms of pedagogy, we use a lot of music and rhythm. I think first, music, because it livens up the whole thing that you have. So we have customized music. Every session has music that is tuned for the session. It is guided like a small thing that I led all of you through during the first workshop, the experiential workshop. Now, I was very happy, and till today I'm very grateful, because that was the very first routine that I had choreographed. And till today, people love it. It was done in December 2013. And since then, till date, it has been an all-time favorite for children and adults alike. So the idea is that we bring in music and rhythm. We use a lot of implements in our systems, because I think children love to explore. There are urban children who may have access to multiple kinds of implements, but in most semi-urban, even in the lower middle class category of schools, not everybody has a skateboard, not everybody has a scooter, not everybody has those little punching bag or whatever it is. And those implements give these children that excitement to participate. So we use a lot of implements. And the essence of the pedagogy is that all teachers, whether it is our own trainers or the teachers from the school whom we teach in order to take it forward to the school, they go through a whole process of training with us. And the first principle to them is that you will not teach the child as an unfinished entity where you have to lead them to a predefined outcome. The child is a whole person. He or she has a right to choose, and your job is to inspire them so that they will participate in your activity, and not be instructive and say, you will do this, do 10 repetitions, go do this. That's not the idea. Can you motivate and inspire them that they want to be? And we have had amazing responses, like parents have come forward and said, ma'am, she's refusing to take off tomorrow. We have a puja at school, at home, and she's refusing to take off because she has a Maverick session. I said, I'm not going to ask my child not to come for Maverick session. Please keep your puja on a different day. Because that's the kind of engagement the children have. They don't want to miss the Maverick session. So absolutely, one part of the pedagogy. Of course, we also have another aspect, which is reaching the child directly. We have a smartphone app through which we try to reach the child directly. Probably I will expand on that at a later point.
Right. Geeta, I would. It was lovely to hear the kind of impact that you're leaving to the society in terms of starting from a grassroots level. The two things that I really liked is the one thing that you talked about, the inclusiveness. The second thing that you talked about, the outcome-based thing, right? So it was very wonderful. I will go back to Binny now and try and understand of how the key changes that you have made into your pedagogical process has impacted your current journey, and because this complete pedagogy takes some time, and as Geeta said earlier, that we want to have that the whole body. So it is something about living that complete sense and then not laminating one part of it and hanging onto your walls. So I would like to understand what were the pedagogical changes, and I would also like to bring in Honey in here because IB part could be shared by him. So post Benny speaking, I would like Hani to speak about how the pedagogical changes that he is looking forward in his IB curriculum. Over to you, Benny.
Thank you, sir. Well, so the first step actually towards the change was to develop that understanding that my idiosyncrasy is only mine. And by making the students replicate or by making them follow our commands, we are just actually stopping them or restricting them from discovering themselves. As Geeta ma'am already explained it very well earlier as well. So the target was to make sure that they are able to explore themselves. And Amit sir, it will be really great if you can show the third slide. That will help in connecting further. So because of this mindset and understanding, there were multiple aspects that we actually brought into. One of that was, sir, the next one. Yes, so this is the model that we actually started working towards, where we started from the reproduction model, which was there in place already. And we moved towards the production model where actually the students started exploring themselves, understanding themselves, and they became way more creative because it was all about, well, them trying to realize what is to be done and how is to be done and how we ultimately take this entire thing to the next level. And as a result of that, their interest actually increased. And well, initial phases it was more about we are going to make it teacher-centric to student-centric and everything. But now the teachers are just the facilitators who are there to help the students, guide them through, yes, but let them discover their own things. The base model were all the same, leading towards helping the students to be physically active for life. So that was one major shift that took place. And because of that shift, as we also saw in the video yesterday that Nigel shared, it was helping the students to learn life skills. They learn to inculcate the skills that focus on critical thinking and problem solving and solution mindedness and everything that we actually need, not only today, not only tomorrow, but 20 years from now, when they'll actually go out in the real world and they'll face. So as we can see, the shift in the overall practices, even in the corporates and everything, is moving towards more of AI base, where critical thinking and analysis and being creative is all that matters. So our shift was majorly towards making sure that the kids are creative throughout, they're enjoying themselves, and at the same time, they're connecting with each other in the effective way, in the social prospect, and understanding how important it is to be physically active for life. So that is one major shift that we took into place.
Thank you, Benny. And with that, I would like to add on that when we are talking about an individual, when there is a set of individuals coming into your classes, they are different individuals. This is not one thing. So you can't teach the same thing to 50 different people. You need to have some stages onto it. Some people understand it from a beginner, developer, intermediate, and advanced level. But if you refer to the solo taxonomy, it talks about the from prerequisite to structural, unstructural, and then to leading to an extents abstract. Of what do I mean to say is how do I use what I have learned and then using that into something else also. That in technically we call it transfer of training, and how I'm using of what I've learned. Jumping, if it's been used here, how do I use jumping from something else if it is required in my daily life work? So how do I use it? So that becomes very important, wherein I will jump onto Hani and understand that since he is in a process of adopting the PL approach into the MYB curriculum, what strategies are you using majorly to adopt this PL approach into your program, Hani?
Thank you, Ashish. Before I start, Ashish, I'm completely agree with what Ms. Geeta has mentioned and Binny. We are dealing with the kids, to prepare them for 21st century. We are not in the old era. So, of course, when we talk about physical literacy, bringing the approaches in our curriculum, we always consider student voice and choice by design. So what they like to do, of course, we engage them in inquiry, but the inquiry is a guided one. Okay, we act as a facilitator. There are a couple of units where students take their own initiative. They let their group, their own kids, we focus on peer learning, we focus on other strategies which can bring an enjoyable and learning enriching experience for our kids. So I request Amit sir to just share the screen, and if we can jump to slide number 68. Amit sir. So, Ashish, this is what the MYP PhD curriculum, the International Baccalaureate Curriculum of Middle Year Program, gives us a lot of opportunity where we can engage the student in physical literacy environment. So the aim of MYP physical education are to encourage and enable students to use inquiry to explore physical and health education concept, participate effectively in a variety of contexts. We give them a lot of opportunity to our kids where they can choose. As I mentioned, voice and choice has been emphasizing by design. So students choose their own activity, but of course, with the guided inquiry, they understand the value of physical activity by participating physically, not only just theory sessions. They work to achieve and maintain a healthy lifestyle. They collaborate and communicate effectively. They build positive relationship and demonstrate social responsibility through participation in physical classes. And then they also reflect on their learning experiences. So as I say, IB is something which follow a cycle of inquiry, engagement, and reflection. So our purpose is to engage students in such a way they can participate, they can inquire, and then again they can reflect on their own participation. They can reflect what they're liking, what they're not liking, what were the successfulness. So the prime focus is to give them an environment where they can participate in the number of activities. Amit sir, can you just move to the second slide? Yeah. So if you all look into the highlights of the PL curriculum in MYB PHE, we engage students into the healthy lifestyle and choices where students develop their research skills. I remember Vinny was talking about a lot of critical thinking, creative thinking, transfer, and you also mentioned the transfer of training. So you can find all those skills here, how they participate in a variety of contexts and how they develop and acquire these skills. So we give them creative movement environment. In creative movement units, students again they show their voice and choice. Which type of activity they want to participate. They want to participate in dance, aerobic, Zumba, martial art, yoga, gymnastics. So there are a variety of choices. Then here they think they are developing the thinking skill, critical, creative transfer. Students work together in a small group to create a performance of 3 to 4 minutes on music. So they are doing the physical activity as well as they are enjoying. They are living it. They are not just doing it just for the sake of a task given to them. Then there are team sports where they develop collaboration skill, communication, reflection skills. They even reflect on their own performance, on their peer performances. And you know the best thing in our curriculum where the student are the part of assessment process. Students choose the best practices. They help teacher to design the task after engaging themselves in the unit. They also create the task specific clarification and the rubrics, success criteria by which they can be assessed. So here, not just Mr. Hani Bhatia is because he likes some performance he is giving and evaluating the student performance. So there are a lot of opportunity in our curriculum which enable child to participate and at the same time enjoy the physical activity. This is what I want to say.
I cannot agree more than that, Hani. I mean, this is wonderful, and this should be an approach across India in terms of living it. You know, अगर मैं सबकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए अगर बोलूं कि आप एक ऐसा इंडिविजुअल चाहते हो जो आप जो कहें वो फॉलो कर पाए, या फिर आप एक ऐसा इंडिविजुअल चाहते हो जो अपनी समझ से उसके सामने 4 चीजें रखें और उसके सामने वो चूज कर पाए कि मुझे इनमें से क्या चूज करना है, क्यों चूज करना है, मैं किसको चूज करके एंजॉय करता हूं और मेरी अपनी डेवलपमेंट क्या हो रही है. जैसे कल अर्शिता बोल रही थी कि मैं इफ आई कैन लिफ्ट 5 kgs, इट इज बेटर दैट आई गो फ्रॉम 5 kgs to 7 kgs to 10 kgs and not look at Hani who might be lifting 50 kgs. So setting up our own success criteria. What is success for me? आज मैं 5 मिनट भाग पा रहा हूँ, 7 मिनट भागूंगा. So this is my own success, and that how we should be evaluated. We'll be talking about that in the assessment part. Thank you so much, Hani, and I will jump on to Neelam. I would be very curious, Neelam, to know that how you are integrating your PL approach in the Tata Trust, in your sports academies, and especially looking at where the feasibility of applying that program into a government sector in government schools are very rare. We always see that there will be problems. So how you will look at this as an opportunity where you can include PL into your system?
Yep, I think we've already seen some excellent examples. Have heard about excellent ways in which it's happening in the IB schools, ICSE, different boards, different the private schools. So we're just trying to figure out how we can use the same. And why should a child in a government school be left out? As we are all working towards creating a child for the 20th century, making them ready for future. So similarly, to what extent we can do is the objective. Now understanding that we have features who are available there, and we have a whole different set of challenges in the rural sector, right? Rural schools, where as is applications or so many options or choices might not be. But in spite of that, trying to think differently and say, okay, whatever we have, or the bare minimum. And if you ask me, well, for physical literacy for that matter, or to create a foundation, are different communities. Infrastructure a must? Well, it's not a must. I mean, I can still do physical literacy in a classroom setting, with the will to help the children or let the children, learn through physical activity. And what we've also realized, and everybody here will agree, that children are by nature, they want to be active, right? So they enjoy doing that. So why not give the teachers certain skills in which they are able to enable or let the children utilize this physical activity, as we said, with two focuses, which I spoke about even last episode, that it is not just to improve their understanding or develop competencies for being physically active, but also teach them educational concepts, which I think the IB curriculum, which you also have studied well, also through what Geeta was saying, that we are able to life skills that we can communicate or teach children through activity. That also can be easily done by creating an environment where the children can do that on their own. So our basic objective here is to keep things simple. I have short-term goals, which again, when we are saying that the children decide their goals, right? Similarly here, rather than impose goals on teachers, we are saying let the teachers first, let them have a flavor of what it is to teach children through physical activity. Let them set, once they understand it, then let them set goals. So what do they want to do? How much of it choice, or what they want to do? Whether they want to take them out on the field and use sports, or it can be in a small setting in a classroom where it's limited. The choice has to be given to the teacher. What is it? Ultimately, the outcome is where we are saying, where we're saying it develops cognitive abilities. We all know that. Do we have to really prove it? No, it's all proven. No, that it does. So just how the children there, especially in the villages, they are more inclined active, might look physical activity than than with a blackboard and a paper, right? So maybe learning outcomes through could be much better. Or if I'm trying to teach mathematics, language, or science through physical activity, probably their understanding that or the concept becomes much clearer when they are doing, because we all know mind body, right? How the body learns together with the mind. So that's what we are trying to do through the trust education programs, and extending the same. I mean, we've been conducting grassroots programs in communities and in schools for many years now. And there itself, just by giving them an opportunity to play, we have seen the difference in their personalities. We have seen a difference in their and difference in which they carry themselves. Or even boys, when they're coming, they're very shy when they're coming from rural areas, right? So that itself, so giving them that opportunity, and then slowly, steadily build those. itself has been very, I would say, satisfying to see that change coming about in the children.
Thank you so much, Neelam. I would like to stress on two things in here where Hani also shared and you also shared that. Two things, that is a student's voice that came out very prominently, or what the student voice is about, what he wants, what he is understanding. You know, with our setup of teaching, जहाँ हम लोग पढ़ते थे, वहाँ यही होता था, टीचर बोलेगा, आप सुनोगे, आप follow करोगे, you're not supposed to question it back. You know, that's how the education system has been. And now it is a big time that we have to make that shift, and that shift is not easy, and especially that shift at at a government level where they still come and touch their feet and they're not supposed to be questioning. Questioning something is about like standing opposing something. So that's what. And I would like to add a word before students' choice. I would like to add that word as students' informed choices. You know, when we say informed choices, it is majorly about why I'm doing this. Okay, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. Which you already did. I just added that word of phrase called informed choices. Now, now when I will teaching at the higher grades, you know, when I have been teaching to school grade 11th and 12th, and then at college also. So, Beulah, whenever I go to my first session in grade 12, sometimes, and I ask my children, why you have taken PE? The only thing that they say is that we want the stress level to be at lower level so we can concentrate on other subjects. So we are very sure that half of the percentage will be going to the management schools like yours. And how to bring them to a physical active life, because after 8 months or 10 months of lockdown, I see my students walking with a lot of flaps around their tummy. So how do you motivate your end? What strategies or experiences that you would like to share on that?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question to throw at me. Like, you know, in the lockdown, I'm sure people have, really gotten sedentary. And that is a common symptom we are seeing across, whether it is, from the kindergarten to the, schools, high schools to the higher education. Now, at Symbiosis, now, how we strategize to get them active and moving is, since the technology is at your service, that's what we use. That's a method and a practice that we use regularly to engage people in physical activity. And we realize that our reach is much more with the use of technology than otherwise. Okay, on the ground, I could just have maybe 10 or 15 people coming in. But when I use technology, I can, engage thousands. So a very good example that I would like to give is in September, this year Symbiosis celebrated its 50 years, the Golden Jubilee. So we launched a event called the Symbiathon, and the target was for them to, engage in any walking or running activity for 12 days, and they had to complete a distance of 50 kilometers. So we opened it up to the students, the staff, their family members, because we wanted to reach everywhere. And believe it or not, the end of the 12 days, we had around 6,500 participants, who participated in this online event. Of course, we tied up with an app which, that was a platform we launched it on. And the response was amazing, and it was a big hit. We not only covered India, but we covered the Symbiosis alumni across the globe. So we had people participating from USA, we had people from Canada, we had people from Australia, you name it, and there they were. Okay, so let me tell you that engaging or teaching people should not be in a structured way. It can be totally unstructured. At the higher education level, what we are looking at is students want to have fun. That's the mindset. They want to enjoy. They want to engage in peer kind of an activity, and that's what you give. That's what you deliver to them. Okay, so in the form of different kinds of activities, as far as you cannot ignore the staff. okay, at any kind of, you cannot ignore them. So what we did was we launched a massive, education kind of physical literacy kind of a campaign with them, wherein we had intensive sessions for 2 to 3 days with 2,000 plus staff online. And after that, we had interventions wherein we told them, okay, come on, you need to drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. You need to sleep, 7 to 8 hours every day. We went to the offices. We did something called as the active breaks, wherein we, engaged them in fun activities like, on movement to music. We did, desk yoga, something very simple that they can do in the office spaces. With the staff, we also engaged in something called as, we have the Wednesday walks, where every Wednesday we have staff coming in for half an hour and we engage them in activity. So it had such good trickle down effect that we have people coming in and telling us, oh, we did not know what exercise is all about, and we are trying to change our lives by being active. So Ashish, I think that answers your question.
Beulah, that was a mind-boggling number and a mind-boggling reach that I would say that was done. And I would completely agree to you that technology has been one of the facilitators in this phase, and it has helped us a lot. And the other point that I would like to highlight in your conversation that came in was the looking at all these stakeholders. You can't ignore any part of the society saying that these are the students that we are meant for, and the teacher who is teaching that is into a shape where they can't move around. So it is very important to address all the stakeholders, and that's what the communities are made up of. So going on to Geeta from here, like, how do you would like to narrate your experience of what will the impact on the children and the other key stakeholders that you were talking about? So how do you measure that impact, and what was the experience that you would like to share with us?
So Ashish, when you talk about impact, I don't believe in assessments. I do them because it's mandatory. We have to provide assessments as per government guidelines, but I don't believe in assessments because I don't think fitness can be charted on a graph. I think it is a state of mind, and there are days when I'm sure all of us experts have had those days when we don't want to get out of bed. And there are those days when we are at our peak. So if you assess me on a day when I'm not at my best, you will get the impression that I'm not physically interactive. So what we actually do in Maverick is we check their accountability. How accountable are you to your own health and well-being? How engaged are you in the process? So we do that through the Maverick Fit Kids app, which is a student app that we have both in Android and iOS. And it has several features, like children they get everyday exercises that they can do, and the parents monitor and confirm that they have done it. So parents get a code by which they validate it. Now for older children, they can choose, rather than the parent, the friends can validate it. And so we have a way by which they form small cohorts, and within those cohorts, the students can mutually inspire each other. Then we have, of course, various kind of activities that are taught through the app, but we also have what we call transformational challenges. So this week's transformation challenge, and it varies. So a first standard kid may have a transformation challenge. Did you eat 2 vegetables with every meal during this entire week? So every day you're supposed to log in and say you did it. Or for the older children, it could be something like, are you aware of your posture? Or are you ensuring that you are moving every hour? We have something called the Maverick Minute, where we bring in awareness. I think the main way to engage a child is through awareness. And how do you engage the child through awareness? You ensure that at every periodic intervention, they get to get in touch with their body. So they may be movements, they may be breathing. We have things like just statue for 1 minute. Can you just stay still and observe your body on how it actually is reacting, and things like that. So then we have a physical literacy component where we educate, whether it's the parent of younger children or the child themselves, on various aspects of physical literacy, of why we want you to engage? What happens when you are able to have an embodied experience? What is the crucial aspect of living like that? So we have various different models in the app through which we reach out to the children to get. Now, the challenge, which I'm sure that everyone faces, and there is a little bit of a paradox here, because we are trying to get children to be physical. And for the physicality of children, we are using a technology that is actually not physical. Okay, so there is a huge paradox here, because we are trying to use a medium through which we can get them to move, we can get them to be active. And what we do through the medium is, for an older person, maybe you have these wearable devices where you can track and you can say, but we don't want children to have that kind of assessment where they are going to be thinking, did I walk 2,000 steps, 3,000 steps, and things like that. We don't want to play. Measurement, after all, is just squeezing down all facts into single digits and numbers. We don't want to do that, because there is so much more to the whole aspect of it. So we want to make them engage in the activity by using technology to give various different kinds of aspects through which they can engage with their own body. So there is something with music, there is something where you connect with your friends, something where you learn something, there is a quiz where you can interact and find out what is happening, like whether you have understood the things, and you can post your videos to us. We suppose we have discussed a concept, we ask the children to get back to us on what their understanding is. I remember that we had done a kind of complicated movement pattern for a 4th standard section. It is called coordinated marching in NSN school. And the next time I went to the school, the children came out and said, ma'am, you asked us to do something different. Play the music, we will do. And they had really done a fabulous job of converting the same thing. So the music is made available to them in the student app, and they can come back with their own combination. So the most beautiful thing about the program is that it's very gratifying. At the end of the day, it's very gratifying to see the way the children respond. But the scary part is that we haven't even begun the journey. We have a huge abyss in front of us, and it is going to take all of our weights to pull this off in our lifetime.
But Geeta, I assure you that this one step that we are taking it every time will lead to some wonders into the coming future. I mean, there is great work.
Absolutely.
And I would also say that there are some great advices that you have just given, so that we might use it in our own school. So thank you for that too. So moving towards the end of this journey could not be ended in 1 hour, but I'm pretty sure that I would like to hear some closing notes, and that has to be very brief, coming in from all our panelists. So I would say that in terms of what are the changes that you want to see in your students or the population that you're dealing with. So a very short note, starting with Vinny. So what will be the changes that you want to see in Vinny in the next 5-10 years?
Well, one of the most important changes that will be great to see, not in one school, but all the schools across India, will be segregation of students, not on the basis of their class, but their skills. That is something which is very important, that is understanding the individual difference and making sure that they have their own journey rather than comparing them with each other or, assessing them, as Ms. Geeta very rightly said, on one day's merit. So seeing that change will be really, really great.
Right. Coming on to very briefly to Hani. Hani, what changes would you like to see in next 5 years?
So, Ashish, I would like to see that kids taking the ownership of their own activity. I must say, use this word, self-directed learners. Okay. So they should be motivated. They should be confident to participate in physical activity. I believe that student will value the physical activity for their life. And by doing this, they can bring, they can achieve the well-being. So this is what I look forward to.
Neelam, coming on to you, what changes do you see with the kind of work that you are doing?
Yeah, I would love to see more of this happening in the government schools where they feel that it is just not possible to do it, or it is too much of an effort to do it. We would like to showcase to them that it's simpler and try and see if the similar aspirations which we are expecting from the children from the tier 2, tier 3 cities, or children going to private schools, we can develop the same here in the children in the government schools.
Dula, coming on to you.
Yeah. So for all the young adults there, I would I just have one message, that they should move, and that's it. And how that is to be done, definitely, I would urge that a model like what we follow is followed throughout all universities in India.
Geeta.
I basically believe in what we started with. That is, I wish not just the children, but every human being begins to value their body, because it's the only address you have. And it's awe-inspiring to know that there is such an immaculate system that has been gifted to you. And if you can really get in touch with that, I think the dignity that the body deserves has to be given. You have to treat your body with respect. Everything else will fall in place. And if we can achieve that, that will be great.
What a wonderful words coming in from all the panelists, and I assure you, मैं आपको लोगों को सबको ये बोलता हूँ, this ये pedagogy वाला part, it is impossible even if you run it for like 3 continuous days, it will never finish. You know, because technically, theoretically, or practically, there's so much to talk about on all these pedagogical practices. Let it be at a school level, different boards, or you talk about a higher education, or you talk about when the society is involved into it, whether it is aesthetic or it is very physical in nature. It is very broad. The only thing that you need to make the change is in your approach. जहां आपने सोच लिया कि हाँ मुझे ये change लाना है और ये चीज समझ आई कि that what are the changes for. So this everything needs to be an outcome based. Need to have few criterias in place. Not necessarily to assess people, but to see of where are we going and how do we want to go. So with that note, and with the next session beginning on, I would like to say that live it and don't laminate it. So when I say live it, don't laminate is live your everyday. Don't laminate it as a picture that I used to do this when I was young and then forget it when I'm not able to do it now. So use it. Have that knowledge and understanding, have that motivation and confidence in you to move and be competent enough to do whatever you want to do. With these words, I will hand over to the session to Dr. Mamta Rani for taking it forward from here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashish sir. And thank you all the panelists for having a wonderful and fruitful discussion on the topic. It was packed with a lot of information in such a short span of time. I would request all the participants to kindly keep their videos off. That distracts the discussion. Thanking you in advance. मैं सारे प्रतिभागियों से दरखास्त करती हूँ कि वे अपना वीडियो बंद रखें ताकि यह कार्यक्रम में कोई रुकावट ना आए. So with your kind permission, can I move on? Introducing the next panelist.
For us, it is done. Amit, over to you if you want to add on something. I hope we were back on time.
Yeah, I think we can go ahead, Dr. Mamta.
Yeah, thank you, Amit sir. Let me introduce you to the panelists for the next discussion. The topic of discussion is physical education assessments. I feel extremely honored in introducing Dr. Jayvant Mane sir, our moderator for this session. Sir is currently designated as the Director of Physical Education and Sports at KMC College, Khopoli. Sir has served as a national and international technical official starter in more than 150 athletic meets like Commonwealth Games, Asian Track Field, Khelo India, Mumbai Marathon, and so on. He was invited in numerous district, state, and national level seminars as a resource person on technical officiating in athletics. Sir is a volleyball referee at state level and has served as a Maharashtra coordinator for Special Olympics. Sir is also a board of study member, physical education in University of Mumbai and chairman of Mumbai University Athletics Cross Country and Half Marathon Committee. What's special is that Sir participates in adventures like Trek Himalayas and 30+ Trek in Sahyadri. We welcome such an adventurous and multifaceted person, Dr. Jayavant Mane, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, panelists for this discussion are Dr. Amit Malik, believer and a liberal physical literacy India movement and ambassador of IPLA. To join him are Mr. Ashish Rawat, ambassador IPLA, Dr. Hani, head of the Department Physical Education and Sports Leave Academy, Mrs. Neelam Babar Desai, head of the Sports Charter Trust Mumbai, and Ms. Beulah, Assistant Director Physical Education, Sports Symbiosis International, Pune. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a nice word for everyone, and especially for me. So, good evening to everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Before I start, being from the physical education field and athletics, I like to start with the one quote: I play to win, whether during the practice or a real game. If you are looking around, all these panel members and the participants, they all are from the physical education and the sports background. So we deal with the several competitions as well as see around that the mindset of all, and when we are looking at the competition, definitely we have to assess them. And today's subject, which is very much related with the assessment, physical education and the assessment. Actually, the whole world is going through a shift from orthodox to the technology and the science. Definitely, the science is the leading, and this physical education field also need a shift in specifically where we are dealing with this physical literacy. It's a great movement done by Dr. Amit Malik and his team, which is leading this physical education arena in a right direction regarding the physical literacy. So, before I go to other members, I'd like to ask Dr. Malik to please express your views. What are the present challenges in current assessment in physical education?
Thank you, Mane sir, for initiating this. And I'll rather start with what you said. I'll say other way to look at it, I don't play to win in practice or in competition. I play to enjoy in practice and competition. I play to learn in practice and competition. I play to flourish in competition and practice. That is a shift required.
Yeah.
I think the win word has to be, if there's a way to cross it somewhere in the conversation of physical education, probably it will do wonders for the sports to really creating champions for life, not for champion for few medals. So for the assessment part, I personally have seen this lot of our own unexpressed or unknowingly impression which we are trying to evaluate through children. And when we look at assessment, what is important is that why are we looking for assessment at first place? Do we want children or participants to improve? Do we want to give them some feedback? Do we really care about them as an individual? And what I see typically is, I can just want to show a slide to depict it more easily. I actually see this all over. Objective data. Children's data need to be assessed, objective data. Their fitness test rejected. You're not good enough, you don't play. You're not so good in skills, you don't play. first part. Second is talent selection. Map the fittest children to sports. Use fitness in selection. Fit India, Khelo India, battery test, apps, master assessment all over India. But my question as a soul of a child is, where is physical literacy in its whole process? How these assessment which we are doing as a country is helping anyone to be active? Will it help any child to tell that you are not fit enough because he or she already knows about it? And we need to think of ourselves as an adult. If I know I'm overweight, I know about it. Telling me again in a report card and making me one side of the story that you are not fit for this is humiliating my existence. So I strongly feel that assessment, the way it is being looked at, is definitely not complete. It is not looking at child as a whole or any participant as a whole. And what it is doing probably is, at the expense of few fit people, it is ensuring rejection of all. So this is the way I would put across my understanding on this subject, sir.
Yes, sir. What you said very rightly, that shift is taking place, that the sports for all, not for only physically fit people. Now, this discussion is going to be a very deep impact on every physical education participant, and specifically physical education teacher, because in our panel we have the good or excellent background from every physical education field, that is the school level, that is IB school level, as well as the higher education level, and we have Neelam ma'am regarding the government school and the Tata Trust. So first I like to start with the basic, where we start, or basic, the students start at the school level. Mr. Ashish, I like to just put across, what are the present assessment in your school? Rather, I will say that how and what way and why you do the assessment. So basically, I like to just answer in three parts, that why, what, and how assessment takes at your school.
Right. So I would like to go back from where I left yesterday. So I was talking about, in my presentation, I was talking about 5 A's to make a better curriculum, right? And curriculum, assessment, and teaching pedagogy are all interrelated to each other, right? So without one's existence, the other will not come back. So I would like to say that even if Gita said that what is the need of the assessment, and I think I need not to say it again, that when Amit said why we need to have, rather to humiliate a person or make him motivate to do more, what is the parameters that we wanted to have? So I would like to start with that quote: assess what values and do not assess what is easier to be measured. So I want to assess what values more, and I don't want to assess what is very easier to be assessed, right? And in the meanwhile, I'll also request Amit to put on the slide. Here I would like to talk about different kind of assessments. So now when I'm talking, sir, I'm really sorry, I'm not only talking from school perspective, but I'm talking from assessment perspective, which will go across, whether it will be higher education or it could be anything. So on my screen, you must be seeing three things. We are talking about assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning. So what is this focus of assessment of learning? What students will do? Abhi mujhe sirf ye dekhna hai. I cannot be, and I will relate to Neelam. We have like two coaches in gymnastic, Judge A and Judge B. One of them is looking at ki अच्छा kya ho raha hai, or B judge is looking at ki bhai inki galtiyan kya hai. So at assessment of learning only talks about what students can do. It will not talk about what they can't do. मैं पेपर में वो क्वेश्चन लिख के नहीं दे रहा हूँ. एक मैं वो टीचर नहीं बनना चाहता हूँ कि मैंने इस क्वेश्चन को बहुत ही कॉम्प्लिकेट करके पूछा है कि अब बताओ तुम क्या जानते हो इस बारे में. I would just want to know what my students know. Second thing, assessment for learning. what teachers can do in response. अब मुझे ये पता लग गया कि मेरा बच्चा ये चीजें करता है, अब मुझे ये पता करना है कि हाउ डू वो चीजें जो वो नहीं कर पा रहा है मैं उसके लिए उनको हेल्प किस तरीके से करूं. Right? The second thing is I got a feedback saying that this is what my students can do. Now I want to focus on what he can't do and how do I provide. So schools में, colleges में remedial classes होती हैं और sports में. So हम लोगों ने कभी sports में remedial classes के बारे में सोचा ही नहीं कि अगर ये मेरा बच्चा आज jump या walk अच्छे से नहीं कर पा रहा है, उसमें से 5 बच्चे हैं जो normally walk करते हैं, उसमें से 2 बच्चे हैं जो टोज पे वॉक करते हैं, कुछ बच्चे हैं जो पांव अपना बिल्कुल रगड़ के नीचे चलते हैं. So what I mean to do in that response, so that is assessment for learning. Last one, students as learning. Now we were talking about curriculum based thing, pedagogy में हम लोग बात कर रहे थे कि मुझे करना है कि कमांड एंड प्रैक्टिस से मूव होके सेल्फ डायरेक्टेड टीचिंग पे जाना है, जहां पर बच्चा खुद सोच पाए कि मुझे क्या करना है, खुद अपने टारगेट सेट कर पाए. So why don't we bring students as their own assessors? मैं उनको खुद ही क्यों ना बता दूं, this is the target that you want to achieve. 10 बार आप पुशअप मार सकते हो क्या? तो क्या मैं खुद असेस कर पाऊं कि मैं पुशअप कितनी अच्छी मार रहा हूं, कैसे मार रहा हूं और इसको इंप्रूव करने के लिए मेरे को क्या क्या चीजें चाहिए. So for any assessment, be it any level, let it be a school, college or any level, these 3 things need to be focused on. Right? Can we go on to the next slide, please? Now, okay, I will talk about this into the next round. Jaivan Mane sir, you can take the responses from the other panelists in the meanwhile.
Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, so you rightly said that assessment should be motivative and to judge or to know the students that what they know and not to find the mistake and embarrass them. Okay, now again, just I like to say, there is one quote: a horse never runs so fast as when he has other horses to catch up and outpace. So just I like to move on to Mr. Honey from the IB school. He has a great experience working with several schools. Sir, what is your experience and your opinion about physical education assessment? Again, I expect that for understanding of everyone, you should just answer in 3 parts: that how, what, and why. Please, sir.
Thank you, sir. सर, सबसे पहले मैं असेसमेंट के बारे में अपनी एक राय आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहता हूं जो मैंने इन 12 सालों में डेवलप करी है.
Yes, sir.
मैं अपनी स्क्रीन शेयर करना चाहूंगा और गिव मी अ मोमेंट. आई होप आप सब लोग ये देख पा रहे हैं.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, now
Okay.
visible. Yeah.
Yes. So for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. एक टीचर अपने सभी स्टूडेंट जो कि डिफरेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक, डिफरेंट कैपेबिलिटीज के साथ एक क्लास में ज्वाइन करते हैं और वो टीचर अपने बच्चों को बोला कि सबको इस ट्री पे क्लाइंब करना है. क्या वो फेयर होगा? मैं वापस आता हूं आपके पास और मेरे ख्याल से इस पिक्चर से आपको सीखने को मिला होगा.
So the same thing is going on right now.
Yes, sir. So हमारे करंट सिस्टम में यही चल रहा है कि हम एक तरह का असेसमेंट लेते हैं क्योंकि टीचर वो असेसमेंट को लेना चाहता है. टीचर आज के जमाने में तो मैं कहूंगा कि चेंजेस आ रहे हैं, पर पहले क्या होता था that everyone is focusing on that it is a requirement. If you are teaching something, you have to take the assessment to promote the child to the next level. But ये कभी नहीं कोशिश करता था कोई कि why we need assessment. Assessment is not only to see student progress, to check our own learning, teaching methods, the way we are teaching to our student. What are the requirements we need to bring in our teaching. हमें जो असेसमेंट होता है वो खाली बच्चों की प्रोग्रेस के लिए नहीं देखना है, वो हमें एज ए टीचर भी चेक करना है कि क्या हम इफेक्टिव टीचर हैं, क्या हम अपने स्टूडेंट को, लर्नर को वो सारी एसेंशियल चीज दे पा रहे हैं जो उसको जरूरत है. So this is what I want to share. Amit sir, if you can share the slide number 92. Ashish has very clearly explained that why we are doing assessment, why, what, and how. But here I would like to bring your attention towards the assessment, the type of assessment. So assessment में बोलना चाहूँगा that first should be the diagnostic assessment. In our MYP IB curriculum, we are always checking the prior knowledge of our learner. Whenever I'm going to teach any unit, before that I want to know what is the current status or level of my student. और मुझे किस डायरेक्शन में आगे बढ़ना है, कितना मैं प्रायर नॉलेज बच्चे को क्लास में लेके दूसरे लर्नर्स को भी इम्पैक्ट ला सकता हूँ. So the first is before learning. Before teaching anything to our student, we do diagnostic assessment. How do I know what student know already to see that? Then the second is formative assessment. Now formative assessment जो होते हैं वो टाइमली होते हैं. किसी एक पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक को टीच करने के बाद, एक पर्टिकुलर कंटेंट टीच करने के बाद, we do formative assessment, which is during learning. How do I know student understand what I'm teaching? How do I know I'm teaching correctly? So again, not only to see the student learning, as well as to see whether what I'm teaching students are getting that or not. And the third one is summative assessment. हमारे IB करिकुलम के अंदर एक बहुत अच्छी चीज है कि हम summative assessment हमेशा यूनिट के एंड में ही नहीं लेते हैं. हमने एक पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक बच्चे को पढ़ाया, उसको एंगेज कराया एक्सपीरियंस में, और उसके तुरंत बाद भी हम उसका समेटिव असेसमेंट ले सकते हैं, which is after learning. So it may be after at the end of the unit, or maybe there will be several summative assessment within the unit, which will be by design. And how can students show what they are learned? ये purpose है summative assessment का. So this is the approach which we are bringing in our IB curriculum. We are always focusing on to see each child. We talk about inclusive education. So we are only talking about the inclusive education, but not the inclusive assessment. How we are bringing differentiation. What are the differentiation strategies we are bringing for different child? Each child has a unique way of learning. So जो मेरा सजेशन है अपकमिंग एजुकेटर का के लिए, या जो फिजिकल एजुकेशन इंस्ट्रक्टर है, टीचर्स हैं, दैट आपको अपने करिकुलम में भी डिफरेंशिएशन लाना पड़ेगा. सॉरी, द असेसमेंट में भी आपको चेंजेस लाने पड़ेंगे. ईच चाइल्ड इज यूनिक एंड यू नीड टू फाइंड द बेटर वे टू असेस दैट चाइल्ड. दिस इज व्हाट आई वांट टू say. Speak up.
Mane sir, just to add on, sorry I am going out of my turn, but just to add on, हम लोग ना असेसमेंट को ये भी देखते हैं कि अब मैंने सब पढ़ा दिया, असेसमेंट बाद में देखते हैं क्या करना है. जिस टाइम हमें पढ़ाना है, हमें उसी टाइम ये देखना पड़ेगा कि मेरे को आउटकम क्या चाहिए, उसी के हिसाब से मेरे को अपना असेसमेंट बनाना पड़ेगा. अगर मैंने सब कुछ पढ़ा दिया, जैसे हनी ने अभी कहा दैट वी विल चेक द प्रायर नॉलेज ऑफ व्हाट वी वांट टू हैव, तो ये भी एक प्री शेड्यूल्ड है कि ये मैं प्रायर नॉलेज चेक करूंगा, फिर मैं ड्यूरिंग नॉलेज चेक करूंगा एंड देन पोस्ट करूंगा. दिस इज ऑलरेडी प्लान्ड, यू नो, दिस इज नॉट कमिंग आउट ऑफ ब्लू कि आज मैंने सडनली बोला आज हनी का मन करा चलो आओ ग्राउंड पे चलते हैं, और एक बच्चे को भगा के देखा कि चल भाई भाग, देखते हैं तुझे कि 12 सेकंड में तू ये कंप्लीट कर पा रहा है या नहीं कर पा रहा है. यू नो, दैट्स हाउ इट विल नॉट हैपन. So we need to be like very thought provoking in our own plans. जो PE teachers हम लोग majorly देखते नहीं हैं. The world has grown up, we are growing, and we need to grow further. Thank you, Ani.
आशीष, एक और चीज मैं यहाँ इंक्लूड करना चाहूंगा. बहुत अच्छा इंटरेक्टिव सेशन हो रहा है. हम लोगों ने धीरे धीरे अपने स्टूडेंट्स को भी असेसमेंट का पार्ट बनाया हुआ है, जिसमें वो खुद डिसाइड करते हैं कि उन्हें क्या असेसमेंट करना है.
Absolutely.
Because एक टीचर एक डायरेक्शन में सोच रहा है, but what about the learners? What are they learning? जो हमारी असेसमेंट स्ट्रेटेजी है या टास्क है, क्या वो रियली उनकी नॉलेज को चेक कर पा रहा है? So even students are becoming the part of this process where they suggest different way of assessing, as well as not only the method, even the way, the task as well as.
Right. Which is nice.
So this is what जो नई चीजें जो टीचर्स को अपनी टीचिंग में लाना पड़ेगा.
So now this discussion will become more interesting because we have another great person with us who deals with the Gymnastic Academy, as well as she works with the Tata Trust at the very grassroots level for the development of the sports. So we have Neelam on, and I like to ask, being such a wonderful background or a very vast background, as per your experience, what are at present the key inputs for your assessment point?
Yeah, thank you, Manu sir. And I think Ashish, Hani, Amit, all of them have very nicely put the perspective of what an assessment should be, right? It is basically a means of identifying and identifying what the child has learned, so that the child understands, or the feedback can be given to the parents as to what the child has learned. Secondly, to identify, to motivate the child to get better, right? So it's not to, and what could be other skills which probably the child themselves or herself or himself not aware about. So we need to, we all understand that is the different thought process which needs to be brought about in the kind of assessments that we're doing. For our gymnastics, for sports specific, we all look at sports as a majorly as an excellence kind of an, where competitive. Sports for us has always been competitive. So the measurement till now has always been in terms of medals. How many medals have we won, right? Which was a shift which that I would not look at gymnastics as a competitive sport, but as a sport for development. The very nature of gymnastics, where it is also called as the mother of sports, it has helped where gymnastics actually can be used in the primary years to develop all different kind of abilities in children. And hence, when we there was also a need to professionalize sports, right? So for example, earlier, you had, in my time, when I was doing gymnastics, it takes a lot of time to excel, right? When it was only competitive. And by the end of 6 years, 4 years, 7 years, if you have not won a medal, then there were questions asked by the parent community, by your peers and everybody. क्या कर रहा है? I mean, इतने साल इस sport में बिताए हैं और कुछ भी, no medal, nothing. I mean, it's a waste, which is so different. The medals were not important. The process of learning and what the sport has given me, that was important to bring about. And hence, when I started coaching, that was I decided that we need to bring about that aspect of sport, and most importantly, use that to give a feedback to the children, to the parents. Many of the parents come to us saying that मुझे तो मेरा बच्चे को gold medal मिलाना है या उसको national पे पहुंचाना है. But that is the thought process we have to change. And how do we change that? By correcting it and saying, first, I do not know about that, but I know that I will be able to get your child to do something more than what he has learned. Now, what is that? And it's important for the parent who doesn't understand this to get a feedback on what is it that I have learned. If I am not getting a medal, how do I know that my child is learning anything or not? And hence, you need to look at different aspects of assessments. You have, the skills is one, of course. The physical abilities or competence, as we say, is one. The second is the behavioral traits that we speak about, right? The life skills which sports teaches you, whether the child is motivated enough to come back and learn, and that will happen only if the child enjoys, right? So we need to bring about all of that aspects within the way we are teaching, so that you are able to develop and measure those abilities in the children, which will help a parent also to understand what is my child learning, and the importance of continuing or letting the child continue with any sport for that matter, not just gymnastics, because he or she is definitely learning and taking something back. It's not just the medal. It's those, if nothing else, the child is getting a habit of being active every day, right? Going out and doing some kind of a physical activity every day, which I would say is the most important requirement of today, or in the future, when we're talking about obesity, when we're talking about children not wanting to get out and be active. When we have Beulah and everybody of us, we understand the seniors, right? The older generation, the younger generation today, not wanting to move, they would prefer sitting. But are we inculcating that within the children at an early age? And it could be anybody. It's not. It has to be every child has a right to, or we basically have the responsibility of giving that opportunity to every child in the country to be able to play, to be able to enjoy, and develop this liking so that they become fitter and better. And those are the thoughts which have been inculcated into the assessments that we have conducted in gymnastics in my academy, as well as those learnings also been passed on to the other activities that we do in the grassroots as a part of the trust. So maybe I would take a pause and probably share those assessment samples some other time. Yeah. So
Yes,
next round of questions. Yes.
Ma'am, what you have said just now, that when we are assessing the child, we must know what he knows, that as well as we need to keep posting to the parents that what your child is learning and till up to what stage he have reached. Yes, ma'am, that with the same approach, all these panelists and I hope the all participants are also working on the same thinking line. Now, we will just move towards the higher education level, and representing that we have Beulah ma'am from Symbiosis International University. Ma'am, I'd like to just put it across you that how you progress of physical literacy on regular basis at your place.
If you can just repeat that question, because there was a slight voice disturbance.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, at your place, at the university level, how you chart the progress of the student concerned with the physical literacy?
Like, I at the university level, let me be really very crisp. We do a health related kind of a fitness testing, wherein we check their CV endurance, the strength, and the muscular endurance, the flexibility, and the body composition. Because we believe that this is a base wherein you need to have a minimum of all these factors. Now, this is from a health related point of view, and we assess them as they come into the university. Every year we do, we reach a target of like around 12,000-13,000 students that we assess. Now we and this we do at a very large scale, and we do not have that many staff too, but we do assess students, and I don't think it happens so extensively in any of the universities, but we do it. Now the reason we assess students is because first of all we needed to assess them to know where we stand, right? If we see globally, the inactivity rates, and India being leading in most of the diseases where we should not be leading, we needed to know where our students and staff stand. So we assessed. So one of the main objectives of assessment is to know the current status. If I do not know the status, how would I be able to deliver the interventions, or to design the interventions? So once we came to know that the students at the university are poor in their CV endurance, or we know that they are poor, they have very bad body compositions, we devise interventions, we design interventions to tackle these issues. We don't go to each individual, we do send them mails saying that this is how you fared in the test, but we do not make it public and we compare the data. We avoid doing that. But we send them this data personally so that they are motivated to do better for themselves. And we give them opportunities to participate in different kind of activities so that they can perform better on the different health parameters, fitness parameters. So that's the main intention of assessment there. And at the end of it, we do need to assess, because I, as a provider, I need to know how effective my strategies are. If I need to know if my interventions are working, or no, I need to assess them. I need to know if my programs are working. If they are not, I need to redesign. I need to, think of a new strategy wherein students will get moving. So assessment is something that is, that is the core, I feel, to know the status of the students, the individuals, to design interventions and to see how effective it is. I think we need to assess for that purpose. And as far as physical literacy is concerned, I would like to stress this point that till now I have been looking out for my current research area is physical literacy, but I have not been able to get a comprehensive tool to measure physical literacy per se. So that is an area that needs to be looked into. There are lots of tools that have been designed, internationally. I don't know of any Indian tool per se, but then you have the PLAY tool, that is a physical literacy assessment for youth. You have the Canadian assessment of physical literacy. Now, when I look at these tools for assessment, I do not know how friendly they are to use in the real setting. I myself am using the PLAY tool right now to assess the fundamental movement of children, but it is very time intensive. Though it is easier, then it is subjective. You need very experienced assessors, so that they are able to judge how well a student is doing. Then many of the tools do not measure the cognitive aspects, do not assess the affective domains. So it is so difficult to get a comprehensive, all-encompassing physical literacy tool for assessment. So this is an area that I urge everybody here today on this platform to look into. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Now, what you are just searching, now you can hear from the expert, Dr. Malik. Dr. Malik, I just like, after hearing all these experts from all stages of the physical education field, what should be the aim and objective, or goal and objective of the assessment? So, in other words, that Ms. Gula will also get the answer for that. What she is looking for.
So I think, again, not to take personal management, but it's like I said, the horse example. I visualize that every horse is unique in itself, and success of a race will be known when horse is active for life. When horse wants to run 10, 20, 30 years in life, that will be success of a race in which horse competes. Now, with such a clarity as well as ambiguity in this statement, the assessment problem is not so easy to solve. And I totally can understand Beulah's point of view, the ways of which have been tried. But the way I look at that, who is child and the participant in the whole system? Child is the smallest, and I would say more internal unit of the environment which is given. So if we need to first start look at the any assessment, I would visualize first there's an environment. Environment will child get from the parent side, from the school side. Do they really want child to be active? Are parents having good lifestyle with themselves? Are the teacher role models for the children to adopt? So I would first look at, first of all, we need to focus more on the environment part first. If the environment is good enough, then you go in that environment, in a school environment, higher education, what curriculum pedagogy I am giving to child. And it is so important. It is as if checking the nutrition status of the child based on child only, and not checking what food is being given to the child. What child is getting is a curriculum and pedagogy. Who is responsible for that? The teacher, facilitator, parents. These are the people who first define curriculum and pedagogy for the children. And then you have the facilitator, which is real execution. And the most internal unit is the child. So I personally visualize that it has to reverse. We need to find a matrix for the environment first. environment, what are the habits of the parent, what are the habits of the peer, how much child is active at home in general, how much is the school believe in that, what do parents believe, what do teachers believe in. So go with the assessment of a physical literacy index for the environment first, then go to curriculum. Does the curriculum intentionally promote every child to improve from their last? Is the curriculum designed to improve and respect each child as a holistic individual? If the curriculum is not right, assessment will by default be wrong as well. So in a way, environment, pedagogy, facilitator, and then individual is the way I would look at it from the approaching for the assessment part. I'm sorry it doesn't give answers, I know it, but I want to be pure to what I know.
No, sir. It doesn't mean exactly that answer, but at least we get the guideline, just how we can go ahead in a way of the assessment. So I like to move further towards Mr. Ashish. What is exactly the how you like to express the impact of this assessment at the school level?
Thank you so much, Amit, for touching that point, because that's where I wanted to begin it from. So can you please put on the slide before I start speaking? So, we see, as Amit was speaking about, environment to be the outmost surface, and then going on to the curriculum and pedagogy, and then going down to the assessment part. All right, and so that's when at the last the individual comes into. Can you go to the previous slide, please? Right. So they are in everything is spiral in nature. One leads to the other one. So if you look at that, what is in curriculum? So what knowledge do we want to provide? Want our students to acquire? Right. What is teaching pedagogy? How will you deliver that content effectively? And last but not the least, assessment. How can we find out what students have learned and use in form of their curriculum and teaching? So सबसे पहले important क्या था? क्या कहते हैं कि हमें सारी चीजें ना एक साथ लेके चलनी है. We can't build one, leave the other one, and then lead to the other one. So I can't decide my curriculum and then I say अब मैं इसको इस तरीके से पढ़ा लूंगा और फिर उसके बाद मुझे कि मैं इसको इस तरीके से assess कर लूंगा. So all three of them has to work together, right? So there cannot be one purest form of how do I assess. But one thing that I wanted to say, when we were talking about curriculum and pedagogy, we wanted our learners to be enabled learners, where from where I go teach, they teach themselves or they teach it through the process itself. That's how the assessment is being looked into. आज मैं ground पे जाता हूँ. Mane sir, you have been running into a lot of, I was also into Commonwealth Games. So you might have started a lot of races. And at the end, there will be like 10 people and scorers at the end line saying that, ye isko mark kara, right? That assessment and this assessment is completely different. That is also important. This assessment talks about कि टीचर गया, टीचर ने बोला क्या कहते हैं कि ओके सिट एंड रीच टेस्ट हमें करना है, आपकी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी को चेक करना है और मैंने आपकी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी को चेक करा, आपके इतने नंबर है. That's it, right? Second thing, can I do this assessment in a different way? I wanted to assess कि जो उसके साथ में बच्चा है वो उसको देख के बताए without any yardstick, कि आप कितना अच्छा कर रहे हो या आप इसको किस किस तरीके से अच्छा कर सकते हो. Then at the third time, अब बच्चा खुद बता रहा है कि मेरे को ये अपनी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी कैसे इंप्रूव करनी है, तो अगर मैं क्या सांस छोड़ूंगा तो मैं क्या थोड़ा और आगे जा पाऊंगा. So that knowledge and understanding in the child is very important to have. Can we move on to the next slide, Amit? That talks about few relevant things. So the next thing that they want to know while considering in our assessment, we need to know what they know versus what they don't. So this is one thing that we need to talk about. कि हम लोगों को assessment में वो पता करना है कि उनको क्या आता है, right? What they don't will be a remedial part which we will work on and assess again in the meanwhile, right? The second one is age versus level. अब 18 साल का बच्चा हो गया तो उससे 50 किलो वजन नहीं उठ रहा. No, 18 साल का बच्चा might be not good in lifting a weight, but he might be very good at jumping. right? So his explosive strength might be good. Lifting के लिए अच्छा नहीं हो सकता किसी और चीज के लिए अच्छा हो. So I want to check that level of that understanding. तीसरी चीज, numerics versus understanding. क्या मेरे को वो नंबर चाहिए कि मैं हनी को 5 में से 4 नंबर दे रहा हूं इसमें, या मुझे ये देखना है कि आप इतना अच्छा, मैं इतनी कॉन्फिडेंस, इतने मोटिवेशन के साथ आगे आज बॉल को लेके ड्रिबल कर सकता हूं और मैं इसको ज्यादा इनकॉर्पोरेट कर पाऊंगा अपने लेसन प्लान में. जब मैं बास्केटबॉल गेम खेलूंगा तो मैं इम्प्रोवाइज करूंगा अपने स्किल्स को and then I will be able to apply this dribbling skill. तो मेरे को न्यूमेरिक्स पे ध्यान नहीं देना है, उस बच्चे की नॉलेज एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग पे भी देना है. As I said in the beginning, what values, मुझे क्या वैल्यू करना है, वो चीज मेरे लिए ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. नेक्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट, फिजिकल एजुकेशन में अनफॉर्चुनेटली हम लोग क्या करते हैं, हम लोग एक स्किल देखते हैं अपनी आंख से और उसको इवैल्यूएट करते हैं. Nobody is wondering about the affective and cognitive aspect. And as Beulah was saying, that there is no certain guideline saying that ये cognitive में मैं knowledge and understanding किसी की कैसे develop करूँगी. Is it about developing a questionnaire and taking that feedback from that child? Will that be suffice to say कि हाँ ये अच्छा कर रहा है या नहीं कर रहा है? No, whenever we feel, you will agree to me, Mani sir, जब भी हम लोग कोई psychological questionnaire भर रहे होते हैं, so the first response that comes to our mind might be the right response. लेकिन जब हम उसको दूसरी बार सोचने शुरू करते हैं ना, अच्छा मैं इसको कैसे मैनिपुलेट करूं, is the second thought that comes and my response goes away, you know. So that should be taken in mind from all the points, from physical aspect, from affective aspect, from cognitive aspect. एक बच्चा ना पर्सनली कैसे कर रहा है, एक बच्चा सोशली कैसे कर रहा है, उसका कॉग्निटिव एंड क्रिएटिव थिंकिंग क्या है. मैंने एक बच्चे के, हमारी पूरे ग्रंथों में पीछे लिखा हुआ है वेदों में कि हम बच्चे के सामने पहले तीर रख देते थे और गदा रख देते थे और किताब रख देते थे, and he is supposed to choose or what he wanted to choose. Are we giving those informed choices to them to measure कि ये वो हनी, जहाँ हनी बोल रहा था कि that I don't want to check a child at the end. There are pieces to it, you know, कि मैंने एक लेसन प्लान शुरू करा, कैन आई हैव दैट रिफ्लेक्शन राइट अवे कि मैंने एक चीज शुरू करी, मैंने हॉकी में ड्रिबलिंग शुरू करी और स्टैंडिंग में ड्रिबलिंग कर रहा हूँ. अच्छा ये जो आपने ग्रिप पकड़ी थी, क्या ये सही ग्रिप थी? क्या आप ग्रिप को इस तरीके से पकड़ोगे तो क्या ठीक हो पाएगा? क्या इस ग्रिप को आप जब चलते हुए करोगे तो क्या आपको ठीक रहेगा? So it has to be very continuous and not spontaneous, you know, कि मेरे को एक दिन में, आज कल मेरे को रिपोर्ट कार्ड पकड़ानी है पेरेंट को, तो मैंने आज एक किताब उठाई और बोला भाई आ जाओ हनी भाटिया एंड अमित मलिक, I would like to grade you of how do you like. This is where the law of recency plays a vital role. हमारे दिमाग में एज अ टीचर जो अभी 3 दिन पहले 4 दिन पहले जो हुआ होगा, हम उसी को रिफ्लेक्ट करते हुए अपनी असेसमेंट उस बच्चे के बारे में दे देंगे और उस दिन वो बच्चा अच्छा भी कर सकता है और खराब भी कर सकता है. But what we need to do at this point of time, we need to have it a continuous approach. I need to assess a child of how he was joining those pieces. उसकी understanding कैसी थी while joining those pieces. And when he came together and developed that skill, he might not be at the end, उसने individual skill static position में अच्छा करा, लेकिन game position में वो implement नहीं कर पाया. Hardly matters. Or what we wanted to learn is absolutely fine. Now we want to work on his understanding part. So that is very important from an assessment. So there is no assessment which I'll say that IB, CBSE or has a standard. They have their own rubrics that has been developed and that they work onto it. So I would say, यहाँ बहुत सारे PE teachers हैं, I would say develop your own rubrics. आपने क्या सिखाया है उसको चेक करो, ये मत चेक करो कि CBSE ने ABCDE दे रखा है और मेरे को इस बच्चे में प्रिंसिपल ने बोला है कि इसको मेरे को B ग्रेड से नीचे किसी का नहीं आना चाहिए, E का तो कोई दिखना ही नहीं चाहिए. तो जो बच्चा बहुत अच्छा है वो भी B है और A है, और जो बच्चा बिल्कुल खराब है उसको E नहीं दे सकते, उसको आप सिर्फ C दे सकते हो. And how do you define that? So I would leave that discussion because this is a very wide topic and that needs a lot of deliberations onto it. But these are the few things that you should keep in mind while at curriculum, pedagogy, and these things work. Go line in line. It cannot be left at one. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It's very well said, sir. Before doing any assessment or doing anything, we must know that child. We must know that what that child knows that. Okay, and sir, what you have explained, that is exactly correct, that when we are looking at the assessment, that time we must think about that key, what is our objective, what we want, that on what basis we want to assess them. So all these three aspects are depend on and entangle with each and every aspect. So definitely, sir, we hope that in coming years that all things will be considered and child will assist on that basis where he knows the things. So we should be very positively looking towards this shift, and that the shift has already started, and we hope that will be on in coming years. So honey, just explain that the sir said already, sir said that there should not be any discrimination like state board, CBSE and IB, but still something different might be a impact at your place. So would you just explain that?
Definitely, sir. I will share my opinion and thought and the best practices what we are following in IB curriculum. But before that, I must say thank you, Ashish, for giving it a beautiful meaning. That there are different rubrics, there are different patterns, guideline from curriculums. But teachers should create their own rubrics to justify those guidelines. And the same we are following in our curriculum as well. So before I go to presentation, before Amit sir, you share the screen, I'll just read one statement which I have created, that meaningful learning is extended when learners explore the unfamiliar, consider a range of perspectives, and take informed risks. Mistakes are seen as opportunities for learning. So I just want to emphasize on one thing, that mistakes are always should be seen as opportunities for learning for all our learners. So Amit sir, could you please share the slide number 93? So in our MYB PhD curriculum, like how I can relevant it with Ashish's statement that cognitive values and physical skills. So all those things we consider in our curriculum, and the assessment objective in MYB PhD is to check the knowledge and understanding of a child. And as Ashish mentioned, that flexibility test. So I will use the same example so that people can connect it. That child should know that why they are doing it. What is the purpose of doing a particular assessment or a skill? What will benefit them? How they can improve, enhance their own performance by maybe by having a knowledge of training methods. So our purpose in our curriculum is to teach all those skills, and at the same time to check the same knowledge. So knowledge and understanding about the curriculum, about the subject. Then assessment objective B is for planning for performance. How child will plan to improve their own performance. Again, if the child is not able to perform sit and reach tests, if the child is not able to improve flexibility, so they need to plan for their own performance. And then we move to C, applying and performing. By applying the knowledge which child has learned under objective A, and how they have planned, whether they are able to improve their own performance. And then D state for reflecting and improving. Student will reflect on their own learning, on the successfulness of their plan which they have created to improve their own performance. Maybe they will speak about the strategies which they have implemented. They can even give the ways for future improvement. So the traditional approach in our physical education was to just check child, to measure child on their fitness components, maybe health-rated fitness component, maybe skill-rated fitness component, whereas we look for all the qualities. Every child is not good in all the physical aspect or skill-rated fitness, but do they have learning? As we speak about that, student or learner should bring physical literacy for their life, not just limited to PE classes. If a child is learning how to plan for their improvement, for their own performance in future, that is a success for me. That is my objective. And that is what I want to measure. So the child is learning to reflect on their own performance. or the ways or the strategies. The child has developed some knowledge. Maybe today they are not able to perform, but in the coming future, when they are moving, when they are going out from the school life or college life, what is our purpose? Why we are teaching physical literacy or physical education? So that they can continue it throughout their life. There, no one is going to take their assessment. No one is going to assess their fitness component. They will be their own assessor for their own participation in sports in the real life world. So following this, we use a lot of strategies, different tasks, because the picture which I have displayed here is that everyone is not good in climbing tree. Everybody, the fish has a different abilities. The elephant has different, their capabilities. So we again we use voice and choice, and I would use this word, Ashish, informed voice and choice. So we give variety of opportunities for our student to perform within a task by design. So for example, I'm saying, okay, student, give me your knowledge and understanding on a particular topic. I may use MCQ, I may use a question paper, or I'll say, okay, you explain in the better way. You record your video and educate the mass media, or maybe create a presentation and just display your knowledge on the particular topic. So we have variety of tasks. Few numbers are like composition, musical, physical, artistic, creation of solution of product and respond to problem. Then we have essay, examination, question and investigation. So even in our curriculum, the student goes to the e-portfolio in year 5 when they are in grade 10, where they act as a coach and client for each other. And then they discuss all the areas like knowing and understanding. The child act as a coach for other person.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah. So this is what, these are some strategies which we are implementing, sir. And of course, thank you everyone for sharing your experience and information, which I am also taking and going to implement in my curriculum.
Definitely, sir. We will come back again. So you and me, we are working in some institute where we have the limited students, right? But Neelam ma'am, she works in such a scale where the participants are more. So ma'am, for the massive scale in the government school, what assessment approaches and the strategies would you recommend to check the effectiveness of the PE sports programs?
Let me first bifurcate into two different programs. So one is the physical literacy program in school, which we are talking about the blended learning setup, where we want to actually enable or support the school teachers to teach educational concepts using physical activity, right? So that's one. And the grassroots program is where we are giving the children opportunities to engage in play or learn skills about a particular sport. So these are two different programs, and the approaches have to be slightly different for both of them. For the first one, where I would actually, completely agree with what Amit had presented, that a lot of factors actually influence the outcomes, right? So if you're saying I'm doing an assessment, it is to measure something. And a lot of factors, if I want to measure what the child has learned, there are a lot of factors contributing to it. Because of the scale and because of the limited bandwidth that a school teacher has in a rural setting, where typically one teacher is teaching multiple grades at one time, right? And time is a big sense, whether and to burden. If I give them a nice elaborate assessment which takes probably 30-40 minutes for one child, I just got to go out of the window. That's just not going to happen. So it has to be much more simplistic, and that is where we would use simple ways or maybe survey based something to understand whether these opportunities are first created. So when we talk about environment, right? So are the teachers creating an environment where the children can engage in physical activity? That's the first point. If there's no engagement, if there's no environment, how can I expect any kind of learning from an individual child, right? So we have to start from there. So then look at the curriculum and pedagogy. So that's where whether the teacher is taking the effort or the way in which the concept is being taught. Does it include physical activities? How many times it is being included when the teacher is teaching them? So we need to measure those smaller things. Curriculum, how many sessions, how many such activities the teacher has actually implemented. One is, of course, we giving them some idea about how it can be done, but it's important that it gets implemented. Only then the child will learn. And then we can look at, what learning outcome the child has, or how much has the child learned. If all of this is in place, then we can look at assessing the children there, which will come later. And so from our perspective, we look at implementing this assessment in this phased manner. First look at this, ensure that the environment is there, ensure the pedagogy is in place, ensure that the curriculum or activities are done. Then we look at trying to assess children, and which is no easy task. Everybody is seeing, but keeping a few things in mind, which again, Hani, Ashish, they've all very nicely mentioned and put up, that it has to be a continuous process. I cannot do an assessment on one day. I cannot, where I'm assessing all the children together. It has to be ongoing. When the activity has been conducted and the teacher is able to see the child doing.
I think there is some technical problem with Neelam. So I just move further to Gula ma'am. That ma'am, if you give the free hand, okay, to implement the physical literacy,
what is being taught?
Institute. Hello.
Yeah.
Neelam, sorry, we thought that there is some technical problem. So, ma'am,
Yeah.
Neelam, ma'am, I will come back to you. I just continue with the Gulam.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if you give the hand to implement the physical literacy program at your institute, what way you will do it to get the right effect on the physical education?
The very moment you asked me, you started your question with, if I give you a free hand, and I just love that, kind of a statement, and freedom is what I would love, because, I can explore a lot of things. So, I think a lot of things we are already doing to promote physical literacy. And I'm sure if you have watched the video, you must have seen, the happy faces. And that speaks a lot, because there is not one thing that we have skipped, I think, in the whole thing, whether it is, dancing to music, whether it is adventure activities. We have taken it to all the campuses. We get a ball, we make them do rappelling, we, do the zip lines, we give them the thrill of being up there. And I think something that I'm looking at it is, getting it a little more structured, because it is quite unstructured in higher education. And of course, like all the other subjects, I think if we have a physical literacy component in the curriculum, and of course the national education policy also gives a lot of weightage to sports and physical activity. And hence my vision is that all universities promote credit programs in physical education, in sports, in fitness, and that I think will go a long way, because like I said, what we want is a fit nation. And if you want to achieve that goal, definitely promoting physical literacy by teaching skills, providing the opportunities, let it be competitions, recreation, or even just promoting wellness initiatives. I think this will go a long way. So yes, that's what I see for the future.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, after all these experts, still they have to say a lot to say. But before just looking at the time frame, I like to go back to Dr. Amit Malik. Sir, after discussing all these things about the physical education and the assessment, the physical literacy, and every aspect, we are trying to get it together, and we are heading and taking that shift in the field of physical education. What shall be the right approach or I may say that your approach towards the assessment in the physical education?
So I think there's no right one answer. Assume that this is still evolving as a concept here. And it may be not the best example, but try to look at that. How do we compare somebody who plays sports for winning to somebody who does, say, yoga in life? Yoga can have for the children, for the adults, whatever asana you do, it is your journey. There is no such part. So that is one thing which comes closely to in terms of that everybody takes their own journey. So from approach point of view, I think Ashish, Hani, Bill, everyone at Nilam also touched upon this, that assessment has to be child motivation development centric. Assessment should give a direction of improvement to participant as well as the facilitator. Assessment is ultimately to create a flourishing environment for the participant to be active. So therefore, all the component like basic environment, curriculum pedagogy have to be considered. But again, success of assessment has to be seen, say, 10, 20 years from now. Whether that helped the child to be active for life or not. So these are the few of my thoughts around assessment.
Yes, sir. So definitely, this should be the baseline for the assessment. Just I like to come back to Neelam ma'am. Neelam ma'am, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry, because of some technical glitch, you were not able to complete. Can you just complete what you were saying about that?
Yeah, so I was just summarizing only what all we had discussed, that in our grassroots gymnastics academy also we look at, we're doing assessments. It is more on a continuous basis. It is somewhere. Noting it somewhere, okay, that she is able to do this or not able to do this. And at present, giving a feedback to them at some time, to be able to share that, okay, this is what the learning has been. And more important in the future. So not saying what the child is, but also trying to understand that probably we know that every different cities, right? We might be doing an assessment based on what we are trying to teach, but you might just find somebody who's doing something very differently, surprisingly better than what expected. So identifying that and highlighting that, so bringing that out. So, and that's where right, where the talent, where you see somebody doing exceptional at a young age. So I hadn't any kind of grassroots training when we are doing any as a part of the trust also, which we look at. Now, these factors are what the focusing on the skill, the behavior traits also, attributes, but how the motivation, how is joy, motivation, more effort to understand testing knowledge, where this apply in a game setting, educational factors. Now, these are the behavior process. So all actually in the assessment, and which not one thing which happens regular manner. So that's what.
I think again we are not able to connect in that clearly with Neelam ma'am. Ashish sir, what should be the your approach? Just in short, can you just explain your views, the approach towards the assessment?
See, although I have shared my approach in terms of there will be a lot of things that need to be taken care, but one thing that we want to do for sure is to include the student into the assessment process. You know, moving in from where one person randomly coming in grading somebody, and we have to do away with this number game. This number game will never work. Out of 10 you score 1 and the person get humiliated, and out of 10 you get 3.3 and you are passed, and then you get out of 10 you get 4, you are passed, and somebody who has scored 60 is a first division, and somebody who has scored 90 is an excellent person. So this will never work into our society system. I am not sure where in any of my last 10-15 years of career that any of my of my recruiter have seen of how much I have scored in that particular subject in terms of the grades. What they have seen is what vision do I have for the school? How do I want to change it? So that's what we should be focusing on, Charlie. It is about value and ethics that we need to develop. And as far as assessment is concerned, it needs to be very realistic in nature. And we need to have people who have been assessed to take the control over it and assess themselves so that they can improve on their own in the coming time.
So definitely. Anisa, can you just give a little bit of brief about this assessment, how that should go about?
So what I feel that assessment in physical literacy must engage the student in the activity, motivate the student to participate in physical activity for life, and build the confidence so that they can continue their participation in the activities for life. So many assessments should be based on beating their own best. So if the students are competing in each other, which is not at all the principle of physical literacy. So this is the approach which I have been inculcating in my assessment, is that I'm creating an opportunity where students are beating their own best rather than competing with each other. Because my goal, my department goal is to make learner participate in physical activity for their life rather than limiting it to the physical education classes. So this is what I want to say in brief. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, I just appeal to all the participants, stay connected, because after this session, validity function will start. And again, a very kind request to all the participants to close their videos, because Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Sir will be joining very short. So I have a few minutes. I just again come back to either Ashish sir or Dr. Amit. You may take this thing. When we are heading towards framing a proper way towards the assessment, what points we need to be keeping in mind? Already you have explained, but just in short, can you just take it? Any one of you?
Amit, would you like to go ahead? Or okay. See, we need to understand, as I said, that it differs from what exactly has been the need, right? If you talk about institutions have their own set needs, right? So if I go to a certain school, so there are categories of schools also, and there are categories of colleges also. So what is your need? That needs to be understood very well. So when I understood my need, that okay, this is what I want at the end of that stage. So let me take an example from Beulah of what Beulah have explained. So what they wanted to do is to check on their fitness levels so that they can put on the remedies onto it, so they can become an active member of the society. So that was the need there. If you go to the school system, the need is different. The need is not only to be physically active, they also want to see how a child is doing in a certain sport, or how they are understanding that certain sport, as Hani explained, how they are understanding it, how they are implementing it. So all those needs to be seen. So I need to understand what is my need and develop those components. So if I go by PL approach, so my components will be my physical component, where I'll see physical competence and health and fitness of an individual. The affective component, where I'll see the motivation and confidence of that child. And the third component will be the cognitive component, where I understand the knowledge and understanding of it. So let's take an example of a 100-meter racer. So that you will connect it more. So if person wants to run from say 0 point to 100-meter finish line, So what is the physical component that we need to check? Second, what is the health and fitness part that we need to check? Is he motivated enough to run? Is he confident enough that he will do well in this? Right? Whether he understands of why I'm doing this 100-meter race, because it is like a speed test that we are doing, right? So when he develops that, then only an overall assessment of the 100-meter race or a speed will come into question. So I think it has to be very need-based. We need to understand what is needed, and then we put our cards in place saying that, okay, this is what I need. So it might be different. If somebody is not approaching it in my previous organization that I worked with, they were not looking forward into motivation and confidence. They were simply that we need a report card where I'll say that whether my child is doing well in this particular sport in terms of how a front foot drive has been played. That was more than enough. They were not interested in knowing whether he is able to make that front foot drive with confidence or not. You know, so that will depend on what is the need. And need-based assessment is something that we need to focus on. The ideal thing will be focusing on all three aspects. I'm saying that again and again in all the assessments and in our lesson planning. While we are planning, is the physical, affective, and cognitive aspect of a skill, right? We can't see a skill as just a physical component. It has to be more beyond that.
Yes, sir.
Ashish, I want to add, sir, one more thing. The assessment should also engage the people in the familiar and unfamiliar situation. Because
Absolutely.
what is the purpose of learning? If the child is not able to, bring that information or learning in the future. So
Absolutely,
of course,
absolutely.
in the future, they might be getting the unfamiliar situations. And the teachers should bring those experiences in their assessments.
Right. I just give a quick example if we have 1 minute, otherwise we can stop, sir.
Sir, please go ahead. We have a few minutes till our Pro VC sir joins.
So Amit and everyone else.
Sir, just sorry for the interruption. I think a Pro VC sir would join in a while. So if you all could just wind up, we can have Amit sir to just give an overview till the Pro VC joins. I mean, you all can continue your discussion, but I think if you could wind up in a couple of, 4 to 5 minutes, then Amit sir can just give the overview of the workshop, and then we'll have Pro VC to join, because we are in coordination with the Pro Vice Chancellor to join in a while. So in the meantime, if we could just wind up the session and have Amit sir to, just give the overview, it would be great. I mean, you all can continue for a couple of minutes then.
Absolutely, Janvi. I will just take 1 minute and then I'll hand over the baton to Amit.
Great, sir. Carry on. Thank you.
Right. So what I was saying was, Javan sir, that I was sitting with my father and watching this London 2012 Olympics, right? So I was a part of the organizing committee for the opening ceremony in London 2012. And when I came back and we were watching these winter games, so they are summer and winter games that we talk about. So winter games were happening, and then I was watching one of these sports, right? I will not name that sport right now. And my father said, "What are you watching? What are you watching?" I said, "This is called sledging, and then you need to sledge the ball, and the ball goes there. It slides away, and then it goes there." He said that, "What a rubbish sport, I mean, it does not matter of what is saying." So at that point of time, I just thought that, then I explained my father of what is this sport is all about and how it is being played and everything. Then I came back to school and then I was thinking that, what do I need an enabled learner to be? So if tomorrow my child goes out, whether he's able to play or not, but he knows that sport, but he understands that sport, he enjoys that sport, and he's familiar with that sport. So bringing it Honey's point that being familiar and using that familiarness into in their own life is what we want as the assessment to be. That will be the real assessment and not having numbers. With that, I'll take a pause and hand it over to Manisa to conclude.
Thank you, sir. And thank you from my side for expressing your views toward the assessment. So thank you, everyone. Now, just for the further technical things, I over to Dr. Mamta Ranema. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. As rightly said, that discussion are always better than arguments, because argument is to find out who is right and discussion is to find out what is right. It was great listening to all of you, and my takeaway from this discussion is a role of student as an individual and teachers in assessment, role of parents as rightly said by Dr. Mane in this entire process. As Ma'am Babula Ma'am said, that there are tools of assessing the students, and role of environment as a prime factor designing the character of an individual, as rightly said by Amit sir. So thank you all the panelists for having a nice discussion. Over to you, Amit sir.
Thank you, Mamata ma'am. So just to be on the same page, do you want me to share initially planned 5 minutes physical literacy activities context, or seminars, workshop summary? What would you?
Summary of the workshop would be.
Okay.
Sir, you could just brief and give an overview of whatever has been happening over the 3 days, and you are free to discuss anything that you wish to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, so first of all, I think it's really heartening to see so many diverse viewpoints on physical literacy, and I'm really happy that there's healthy discussion going on this subject. We may not find the right answer immediately, but I'm really happy for that we are thinking in the right direction. So first of all, a big success to all of us, all the participants, all the panelists who could put across their honest, candid perspective, and we were able to discuss, debate, put perspective to it. Because that is the biggest success for any workshop, where ideas are shared, where ideas are consumed, and we come hungry for learning and we go back satisfied with some new point. So that is something which is so important for us. And for that, I'm really thankful to the whole management principal of GCC, Anaga, and the whole team, that we chose a format which is not conventional. We chose a format which may not be conclusive in the knowledge, but probably which was required to take this initiative forward. So a big thanks to all the organizers to ensure that we have a format which we intentionally wanted to build more different perspective. As a team, I would not call myself as a team. Anybody in our country who thinks about that physical literacy for life. So our journey has been, and our endeavor would be to adopt the purest understanding, so that we respect each individual as a whole and always keep that in our hindsight. A lot of these today's discussion were around how to make it easy to understand and implement for our participant, so that there's a implementation opportunity as well, and there's a belief that yes, it can be done. This seems a good heavy philosophy, what ma'am said on the second day, that philosophy of physical activity or the education. But there's a need for all of us to make it easy to understand. And that is something which we achieved reasonably well in last 3 days. We started with very simplified definition of physical literacy on day one, with few activities around it. We only introduced definition and 4 words. Physical literacy is motivation, confidence, physical competence, knowledge and understanding to value and take part in physical activities for life. This was the only learning of day one, with a lot of questions, debate around it. So it really set the good stage for all of us to look forward that, okay, this is what physical literacy is. And then in 4 sessions which we had, with very interesting session around why physical literacy is needed, which was primarily around that, why do we need it at the first place? Is it only for the children? It is for the adult? Or it is only for the higher education subject? So in that session, we covered the whole breadth and depth of the stakeholders, starting from government school, urban school, rural schools, government policies, higher education, corporate, private schools. So we got a very good perspective on how everyone wants to look at these perspectives differently as per their environment. And that was a very, very interesting part, especially even for the higher education. And when Sudha, who's a very senior recruiter in HR, and she said that one of the qualities she looked for in that 10,000 people she has interviewed is, are they physically active? Do they play sports? And this is such a huge message to higher education system that a potential recruiter is also looking at the holistic development as a key criteria for getting onboarding in their teams. After that, why physical literacy is needed, we went to a very interesting component of it is needed. We understand reasonable about it. Can it be put into some structure? Can there be some curriculum of physical literacy? And in that curriculum as well, we looked at private schools, little bit of government schools, higher education, adult population as well. Do we need a structure to adult population as well? How to have a progressive journey for them. And today, of course, we looked at the pedagogy aspect, that how pedagogy should be if you want to take physical literacy experiences to each of the participant in physical activities. And in that also there were a lot of new learning for me as well, and I'm sure for all the participants as well, that how you teach is such an important part. How do you communicate your intention, what you want student to learn through an approach which is inclusive, a good experience, and children look forward to it. So pedagogy session was how to put curriculum into execution, and finally the assessment part, that how do we close the loop, whether we are on the right track. Is this assessment giving us the desired benefit we have in mind for our participant? Is the assessment put for that? Rather than giving a theory about it, we give a lot of case studies from various experiences. A lot of videos were shared to communicate to our participant that how can they translate into the execution part. Now our goal is also, as somebody working for the cause, is to help this mass dissemination of this information. And I would urge and request all those participants who have been with us to whatever has been their understanding, to take this learning to their systems, to start with themselves, their families, their friends, their relatives, and the system where they work upon. Because the success of this workshop is not by saying it. All of us have a desired dream to be the healthiest country, an active country. And for that, each of you who is attending this has an important role to play, starting from yourself to the system where you work. And I like what Ashish said, that let's be mad. And mad is not about the madness, but let's make a difference. Let's make one small difference, which we can be proud that I attended this workshop and I'm making one small difference to myself. Multi-sector integration, we looked at that, how placement looks at sports or physical activity, higher education, sports sector looked at it, and how even health looked at it. So we try to bring perspective from the multiple sector so that it is clear in our perspective that physical literacy has an application probably all over the community. And those perspectives, small thread, can be integrated to bring more holistic solutions. And last part, I really feel happy, not happy, rather I feel happiest to see so much of energy from all of you, all the panelists, and to see this, let's say, picture coming together. For me, it was a different experiment to try so many diverse set of people, and how the collaboration and cooperation from everyone has come forward. I'm just hugely grateful to each one of those, each one of our team member, panelists, organizer, participant, that how it has come together. So in India, what we have been doing as a cause-led group, we are supported, guided by International Physical Literacy Association. And we as a participant should also be thankful to Nigel Green. Yesterday, he spent almost 3 hours responding to every chat message which he got. And
Amit sir, you've been muted. Amit sir, you're on mute.
Can we remove Shushi or the person who is on mute, please?
there's some background noise.
Janvi ma'am, can we please get this?
Yeah, I'll just get it done. I'll just get it done. Give me a minute.
And Amit, I think you need to present it again.
Just give me a minute. It's done. Amit sir, you can continue. It's done.
So do you need to guide me, because when
you need to present it again because somebody presented in between and your screen is not visible. So you can present it again.
Yeah, you can just start the presentation. You stop presenting and present it again. Yes, Amit sir.
So did I cover this part for everyone? Did we cover this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I was talking about the support from International Physical Literacy Association. When we had to choose one approach for it, we had taken help from a lot of other international partners. But somewhere we found that the group which International Physical Literacy Association is, they are really deeply connected to that, making a difference to the practices across society and humankind. And especially Margaret, who literally coined this term physical literacy. Maybe when we do our next workshop sometime, we can personally invite her to see the energy of people here in India working for the message which she gave to the world through physical literacy. So we are really being supported by them. And 3 things which we are trying to do in our humble attempts are around the advocacy, training, and research, so that this body of knowledge, body of practice, and body of understanding all grow together hand in hand in India. And there are various sectors which we are going to touch upon. We have a connection with higher education. Like Beulah said, that why not we have physical literacy as an experience and as well as a subject in higher education, so that these young minds who are very impressionable now are able to transform themselves when they go into life. They're active citizens, active mothers, healthy fathers. And what Aparna started so beautifully, that the journey goes on. She was a child who was brought to ground, 3 years old, brought by the father. And now she brings her daughter to the ground, 3 years. And this journey continues. And for that matter, I have a small story to share. There was a story of a girl who, at age of 20, was talking to her father. And she said, "Dad, I don't know what I'll do in life, because I've not been able to be champion in life. You tried your best, but I could not go beyond district level. And you spent so much money, time on me. Mom spent so much time on me. I don't know, I could not even get good marks. I'm feeling very bad for you, father." And father said that, "You were a small child of 3 years when you started to walk. I enjoyed that. You were 5-year-old starting playing football. I really enjoyed that. And then you asked that, 'Dad, can I go to play somewhere?' I took you to play area and your journey started. I saw you every day, how happy you used to come from the ground. How your life changed, how confident, motivated, and how happy you got for the whole family. And your mother started making good nutrition food for you because you're playing and we need to adopt to your requirement. We stopped going to late night movies and clubs because we want to get up early in the morning. And when your younger brother was born, he also got a lot of inspiration from you to play. So my daughter, whatever you has given to me is more than I think I can ask from you. And only thing what you can give back to me was, I could take you to this academy for 17 years. Take your children for more than 17 years. You can give back what I have given to you. So I feel that this is very, very important for all of us to connect what we are trying to do here. And hopefully with this small attempt, whosoever participant, just reflect back how physical literacy can be part of your life. So that's all which I wanted to share. If anyone has any questions to our participants, if they want to ask to panelists, more than happy to discuss and close this.
Amit sir,
Yeah, ma'am.
are you done with the presentation?
Yeah, I'm done with the presentation.
Okay. So I think Mamta ma'am, over to you, and then I think the pro vice chancellor wouldn't be able to join for the valedictory. So I think you can just conclude the session and put it over to me. I will take it forward.
Yeah, thank you, Amit sir. I would request participants, if they have any questions, please put in the chat box so that we can take it up for the discussion. Any questions? No questions, I suppose.
Just to add on, Dr. Mamta, Ashish this side.
Yes, sir.
Amit, you can leave your the official email ID and the contact number. If any one of them they don't want to ask this on an open platform, if they can contact us in case if they want. So we'll be really happy to answer it, help them in the best way that we could, and let it be at a school level or at any levels or at a community level. So we'll be really happy. This is what we are doing out of our own interest, and we'll be really happy to make the smallest contribution that we could in this society. So Amit, if it is required and you feel it is fine, we could do that.
So we have a question, Mamta ma'am, by Gurukul Basu.
Yes, sir. What are the steps for formative and summative assessment? What are the methodologies in respect of assessment for learning, assessment of learning? I think so that's repeated.
So he's Gurukul Basu from West Bengal who's asking this question, Amit sir. You can just, route it to the person, or even you can answer that. I'll repeat it. What are the steps for formative and summative assessment? What are the methodologies in respect of assessment for learning?
Okay, so let me take it up from there. So as I said in my concluding note, that it all depends on what is the need of that we talk about. So we talked about three kind of assessment or patterns that we talked about: assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning. So these are itself are the methodologies of how to assess. You have already answered it and you have seen it. assessment of learning of what students can do. It's like अगर आप जाते हो ग्राउंड पे, आप सीधा सीधा ये देख रहे हो, क्या कहते हैं कि आपका जो बच्चा है, let it be a child in school or at college or something, what he can do. These are methodologies in itself, right? For learning is majorly about what remedies as a teacher would you like to provide that the students can improve further or what has been done. And as learning is, are they able to see of what they have gained? So it is about teaching, reaching out on what do I understand out of it. So these itself are the methodologies for any kind of assessment that we do. And as we, me and Hani were talking about that, there cannot be one set assessment that could be developed and said that this is perfect for these classes, you know. That way, that's what happens when, I'm sorry, when CBSE says is that, CBSE says that, okay, you grade a child on these 5 parameters, and the parameter is A, B, C, D, E. A is the top, E is the worst, and or you take it as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is about just about randomly thinking of where are we. The assessment need to be rightly looked into. If I talk about from a physical education or physical activity point of view, it has to be very well said as that I see a physical activity. क्या वो मेरा बच्चा कितनी अच्छी तरीके से कॉम्पिटेंट है उसको करने के लिए, क्या उसकी कॉम्पिटेंस, उसकी हेल्थ एंड फिटनेस उसको वो चीज को सपोर्ट कर रही है, क्या वो कुछ करना चाहता है. आज वो बच्चा खेलना चाहता है बैडमिंटन, आपने उठा के उसको दे दिया फुटबॉल में भी, राइट. क्या आपने उसको फुटबॉल देने से पहले ये बताया व्हाई आई वांट फुटबॉल टू बी डन, क्या मैं क्यों चाहता हूं कि आप ये 5 स्पोर्ट करो ना कि सिर्फ एक ही स्पोर्ट दैट यू वांट टू डू, बिकॉज इट विल लीड टू मोर ब्रॉडन अप ऑफ योर स्किल्स. क्योंकि एक स्पोर्ट आपके जो मेन स्पोर्ट आप करना चाहते हो उसमें वो डेवलप करने के लिए हेल्प करेगा. सो देयर इज अ क्लियर फीडबैक आल्सो, एंड दिस फीडबैक is been given to feed forward, you know. So when I say feedback, this feedback has been given so that the child can feed forward, so he can move forward. So that's how we look into assessment. So there will not be Mr. Basu, there will not be any specific assessment. Say I will say that I can give you the assessment that I have made for my school, I don't mind that, I can give you that, but that will not fit in your criteria until and unless you see कि आपने plan क्या किया था, नीड क्या थी, आपने उसको किस तरीके से इंप्लीमेंट करा और क्या आप देखना चाहते हैं. So that will be the process for you. But yes, if you would like to go broader into it or deeper into it, you can connect with Amit. We can sit together and talk about of what are your needs, and then we can develop an assessment for you for sure.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible. Mamta ma'am, mute off.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashish sir. And I think no more questions. So I'll request our Vice Principal, Ms. Janvi Rao, to take over. And thank you everyone for your cooperation.
Oh, well, I think we are at the close of the session, and it's time to, wind up the 3 days workshop. For the first time, I would say with a heavy heart, I will close down the session in the next few minutes, because as I always started that, this topic is a very, very close topic, close to my heart. So for 3 days continuous, we were all set to, in front of the laptop and come like 4 o'clock. So we used to be like 3:30, we need to log in. So it's like, nothing's going to happen from tomorrow. So it's like Anagha is going to be at ease, and she's not going to eat my head, and she's not going to eat Amit sir's head, and all the panels are going to be, pretty chilled out, not coordinating with us. So all that is going to just come to an end from tomorrow. And it's a very different feeling for me today to just deliver the Watch of Times, which is per se going to be a very, very long one. So all of y'all have to bear with me for the next 7 to 10 minutes minimum, because this is going to take a long time, because each one of you have done a stupendous job in making our seminar cum workshop huge success. So let me begin with our chief guest, Miss Aparna Popat, Olympian Arjuna awardee, former Indian badminton player, director of academics, badminton Gurukul, Mumbai, who was here with us to inaugurate the workshop as the chief guest, and she has briefed us about a lot of aspects related to physical literacy. So thank you, Aparna ma'am. Taking it forward, let me take this proud privilege of thanking our keynote speaker, Mr. Nigel Green, who is the chair, International Physical Literacy Association, that is the IPLA UK, whom we have been in association with for this seminar named Physical Education to Physical Literacy, a paradigm shift in India with reference to Fit India movement. So Nigel sir, let me say, although he's not attending this workshop today, but all of you who have attended this workshop yesterday, I think he's one gentleman who has been with us for the entire 3 hours and has been keenly listening and putting up comments for every person who has been in the workshop. Every resource person who has been speaking, he has something or the other to comment on, his expert advice, his expert comments, his expert suggestions. So I think he is certainly an inspiration to all of us. Nigel sir, thank you so much for being with us and giving us, that's the host of Gurukul College of Commerce, this privilege to make this international seminar for the first time. So Nigel sir, this credit per se goes to you. I would like to thank the guest of honor, Dr. Mohan Amrule, the Director of Sports and Physical Education, University of Mumbai, whom we have been an affiliating college to. Although Sir wasn't here, let me extend my gratitude to our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, University of Mumbai. Due to some personal and official reasons, Sir couldn't be a part of this event. Just like to say that physical literacy is beyond physical education. As Anagha briefed me on the first day of the session, because I asked her, Anagha, physical literacy का इतना बड़ा seminar और workshop तो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन यार चालू करने से पहले मुझे बता तो दे कि ये physical literacy है क्या? So thank you so much for all this. I would like to thank the expert resource persons, the panelists, the moderators. The list goes long. Dr. Abhitsen Vartak, Director of PE and Sports Sathe College, Mumbai. Mr. Ashish Kumar Rawat, Ambassador of IPLA, Delhi. Ashrita Datta, Fitness Entrepreneur, Beulah. Assistant Director, Symbiosis International University, Pune. Binny Ghosh, Physical Education Teacher at Heritage Experiential Learning School, Gurgaon. Geeta Krishna Raj, Program Director, Physical Literacy, Chennai. Hamid Mahapatra, Physical Education Teacher, Belpar English Medium School, Odisha. Dr. Hani Bhatia, HOD PE and Sports, Neve Academy, Bangalore. Dr. Jayant Mane, Director PE Sports and Sports, KMC College of Arts, Raigad. Dr. Mohan Manmode, Sports Director at Dhyan Satna College, Thane, Mumbai. Mrs. Neelam Babar Desai, Head of Sports, Tata Trust, Mumbai. Mr. Pankaj Markande, Believer and Enabler, Physical Literacy India Movement, Hyderabad. Dr. Shraddha Nayak, Assistant Professor, CACPE, Pune. Shreyoshi Saha, CEO and co-founder, Immerse Go, New Delhi. Dr. Sonali Talavlikar, founder, Start Fitness India, Pune. Ms. Sudha Shastri, entrepreneur, executive coach, mentor, HR specialist and sports enthusiast, Delhi. Mr. S. Surya Prakash, physical education teacher, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Hyderabad. And Dr. Tejal Kanwar, MD and founder director, Kinelytics Fitness Movement, Fitness Mumbai. So, Anagha, I hope covered all the resource person except one person. I haven't rendered my thank you to, and that is none other than Amit sir. So I said I will save the best for the last. So I think Anaga have covered everyone other than Amit sir, right, Anaga? Okay. So now it's time to thank Amit sir, because before I thank Amit sir, I must say that this is the first session that I have attended all through my tenure, where I have, I think, more than 15 experts coming on board together. So I've always told Anaga, itne logo ko la rahi hai, will we be able to manage? And she was confident, like, madam, hum log hamesha karte hain, hum kar lenge. And I was like, okay, cool, let's go for it then. But Amit sir, so now it's time to thank Amit sir, the facilitator of the workshop, and Anaga has sent me an entire list of thanking Amit sir. So let me just open her chat, because we keep on chatting and the list goes long. So Anaga says, please mention Dr. Amit Malik sir's stupendous efforts for the success of this seminar. He gave this initial idea. He designed the flow and decided topics for panel discussion. He brought all wonderful speakers. He got the chief guest. He got the keynote speaker. He got all the panelists. He's involved throughout the process of seminar, taking demo, mock discussions, and he deserves a special mention. So this is the reading of Anagha's version that I have been reading. But sir, apart from all this, on behalf of Mumbai Pradesh Ayurveda Sabha's Gurukul College of Commerce, I, the Vice Principal of this institution, extend a huge thank you to you for being with us and conducting this workshop. We have an overwhelming response from all the participants here, because the chat box says that. So thank you so much, Amit Malik sir, for all the support rendered to this institution. And I don't think we will let you all live at peace. Not only Amit sir, but all the panelists, because we're going to have this time and again, because we have this knack of troubling all the wonderful people around us who make a difference to the world, and because we too fall in that category. So thank you so much, Amit sir, and all the panelists who have done a wonderful job. I hope, Anaga, I have said all that you've said to me.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to also thank the host institution, that is the management of Mumbai Pradesh Ayurveda Sabha's Gurukul College of Commerce, our Honorary Secretary Raj Prakash Kamdar sir, who has always been a strong support to all of us. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Nandita Roy. I would like to thank our IQAC cadre, under the banner of whom this workshop has been conducted, Dr. Asif Beg, the members of the IQAC, that is Dr. Hemal Vora and Dr. Preeti Kag, our technical support, Mr. Somil Deliwala, and the hosts for today, that is Dr. Mamta Rane, Dr. Kajal Chheda, the entire teaching staff who has been working behind the scenes with all the registrations, and it calls for a lot of coordination. But let me mention the I need to really, I don't have a proper word for this, the efforts, the planning, the initiation behind our workshop on behalf of us, that is Anagha. So I would like to really thank Anagha from the bottom of my heart, because I gave her the responsibility and I just put my hands off from this workshop, because I know if Anagha is there, I can rest at peace. And so I have just put my hands off for this workshop, and she has done total justice to this without any stone unturned to make this event 100% success. Thank you so much, Anagha, for putting all the efforts. There are a few people जो नाम के लिए करते हैं. but she does it because she wants to do it. So that's the difference between a person who wants to do it and a passionate physical educator like Anaga, who is an asset to our institution. So thank you so much, Anaga, for putting all the efforts and keeping me at ease for organizing this program.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
A single person, but it's teamwork, and that's what we are renowned for. The Gurukul College of Commerce team, Amit sir, let me tell you, we always have people. If it was a physical workshop, we could have done lots, but considering the pandemic around, we had to constrain ourselves to an online workshop. Otherwise, what we are famous for is two things. One is our event managerial skills, and two is our
Hospitality.
that we give to everyone who is present. So we could not get that opportunity to give the hospitality skills to everyone. But nevertheless, I think in the upcoming years, we will surely invite you and all the panelists, and if possible, even Nigel sir, to be a part of our institution and host you at our campus, Gurukul College of Commerce, Mumbai. Thank you so much, one and all, for being a wonderful audience. Do not forget, I have not forgotten the participants without which this event wouldn't have been successful at all. I hope I haven't missed anyone, and I render my apologies if I've gone too overboard or missed out anyone. But all this is just out of the heart for all of you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to conducting many more events like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. All resource persons, wonderful resource persons, thank you. Amit sir, thank you very, very much. And we are going to trouble you much more in the very near future and continuously, I think, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nega, have you informed that the certificates, e-certificates?
Yes, we told.
Given,
Yeah, within a week we will give them.
Perfect. Just put it on the group so that people are aware of it.
Yeah, it's posted on the group.
Right, so we will be distributing, we'll be emailing the e-certificates within a week maximum. All right, so everyone can just sign off, and thank you so much.
So bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anaga ma'am, thank you, Amit sir. Congratulations for organizing such a beautiful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Participants are requested to leave the meet. I will post the feedback form link in the group too.
Anaga, you wait till all the participants leave,
I'm
or
waiting.
you can just remove all of them. You can just wait for about 5 minutes, and then you can start removing them. Right,
Yes.
Anaga? Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I sign off with your permission?
Yes, ma'am. No problem.
Thank you, Anaga. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Respected madam, please share the PPTs and videos.
Yes, sir. We'll let you know.
Respected madam.
Yes, sir. Yes,
if
sir.
possible, please share the.
I will ask the resource
if possible, please share the.
Yes, Basu sir. I will let you know. I have to ask the resource person.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
We can provide you with the summary of the all the panels.
Okay, 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 okay. Thank you, Malik sir.
Participants are requested to leave the group.
हेलो सर, सर्टिफिकेट कब आएगा?
Ma'am, within a week. Within a week. Certificates will be provided within a week.
Thank you.
Hello, respected madam. Hello.
Yes, Basu sir.
Sir, is it possible? Share the resource person contact number.
Sir, you can contact Amit sir.
सर अमित सर का फोन नंबर मेरे पास है
हाँ, हाँ, Amit sir
ठीक है
will be entry. He will let you know.
Okay, okay, thank you. I want to CBS inform the CBS 10 Parthu Babu. Okay, I'll also contact with Amit sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, चलो now we can leave. कोई नहीं
Yes,
आना भी
ma'am. Bye. सबको रिमूव करते करके थक गई मैं. जा ही नहीं रही. चलो
अभी भी
बाय.
आते जा रहे हैं. चलो बाय.
चलो रिकॉर्डिंग चालू होगा.